Middlekauff.
Hey, he behaves.
Whoa.
I sound like Adele. I watched some of her singing special the other day.
How was it?
Actually, I didn't. I just got tweeted in my timeline, and some female reporter or something I follow on Twitter retweeted this like, "This is life." So I'm like, I'll check it out. It's just her on a couch, just singing, and she's just so emotional and just so her voice is perfect, but it's just but then she can get low and then she can get high.
Yep.
She's got a good voice.
She does. I know that's not what you wanted to start the show with. I'll give you the floor if you want. You said to me before we started, I really want to talk about NL Manager of the Year Gabe Kapler finally getting his flowers. So if you want to weigh in on that, go ahead. You had a prepared statement here.
Yeah, I mean, you win 107 games. You get NL Manager. Now you could have made a case for some other guys, but yeah, I'll give him his flowers.
I do think it's weird. I do legitimately, when the executive of the year and the coach of the year come from the same place, it's always kind of odd to me.
Especially in a sport where the executive does everything. But listen, a manager has to win it. So he did a valiant effort. Can he keep it up without Buster? We'll see. Time will tell. I would doubt it. But listen, I just sound like a hater. I am.
If you were Buster, would you have rather been on the Dodgers or the Giants this year? Like the Giants won the division, but the Dodgers went one round deeper.
That's a good question. I mean, you'd rather be a Giant than a Dodger. That's the way I would think about it.
Yeah, right.
And he was hitting home runs in the NL DS, so it's like not my fault.
No, I mean, my ultimate point is you'd rather be the team that won the division if the other team didn't go to the World Series. And since they didn't go to the World Series, winning the division is a thing that you remember, that people remember, right? That you have, you take pride in that. Winning a division in baseball is hard. Like all those Braves teams of the 90s, like we won all these divisions.
One thing I will give him his flowers on. Listen, I'm not gonna be like Skip Bayless if he keeps winning and just keep calling him a clown. Like clearly, maybe Farhan knew what he was doing, but it's just 1 year. We've seen a lot of managers have some big years. We'll see if can he sustain it. Time will tell. In the Bay Area, there's a reason most of us, right, unlike Southern California, get pasty white. Especially you lived in the city. It's not like the sun comes out that often. He got tanner as the year went on. Now, if I had to guess. And I always thought this with Trump and just some other guys who's another really dark, like there's another guy that I can't think of his name off the top of my head that's just always super dark. It's like, do they go to the booth like every other day, or is it fake tanning? I don't know.
The recording booth?
No, the Max Muscle,
How did you stay tan when you lived in Philadelphia?
I'd go to the booth. There. I'd go to the booth. I went to the booth because when you get paste, I get so pale. And it's just, but then, girls will tell you, because they probably do it more consistently than most guys, is that it's really bad for your skin. Spray tan, but when you spray tan, you gotta your fingers all get and then you can't lay in your bed for a while.
It's how do you handle that?
You kind of smell. You can't shower. For like 12 hours. It's kind of a process. Would you assume that Gabe Kapler fake tans?
Yes.
In a booth.
How else do you do it?
The spray.
Oh, yeah. I think it's got to be. It's a pretty even. It doesn't look like a spray to me. I've been to enough weddings where women are wearing sleeveless shirts that you can pick up on the spray. It's like, oh, why is everyone's armpit so white? It's like, oh, well, you got the spray.
Not only did he win NL Manager of the Year, he got an extension. So it's like he's here to stay for a little bit.
Well, baseball coaches only make like $500K now, John, so it's easy to extend them.
I mean, it's one of the few things that still gives me joy. The other thing, at least, is the Lakers losing. It gives me true guy. Sports, I kind of have to gamble, or it has to impact what we talk about. If it doesn't, I'm more indifferent as I get older. I found myself yesterday eating dinner, smiling, no money on it. Like, this is fucking awesome. And just watching them. I know. They stink.
I know.
I mean, it's fun. That brings me joy.
I told you this earlier. I watched the Kevin Garnett show on, I think it was on Showtime. It's like an hour and a half. A lot of him and Snoop just talking, and then it like goes through his career. And one of the clips is when they finally, when he, he's 0 for like 7. He loses in the first round like 7 straight years in Minnesota.
Plays the Kings, right?
He actually went. Yeah, well, that's the first time he wins. Remember, Weber misses the corner three. I'll remember that game like it was yesterday forever.
Didn't he have like 42, 20, and 10 in that game?
He was incredible. Then he goes to Boston. Boston was terrible. Anyway, Boston wins the East, and Doc tells them, "We didn't come here for the silver ball. We came here for the gold ball. Don't anybody touch the silver ball." So, which is the Eastern, whoever's that's named after. And they start chanting like Paul Pierce, the Boston Celtics in the locker room after the game. They start chanting, "Beat LA, beat LA, beat LA, beat LA." It's like, can you imagine if a team did that right now? The level of just swagger you'd have to have as a group of players. Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and KG. They're about to play Kobe and Shaq. They chanted, "Beat LA."
Did they tell the story in that deal where like they put like $10,000 in the Staples Center in the visiting locker room? They said we're only getting our money back when we come back and play them in the NBA Finals. I'm pretty sure that's does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it does sound like in the ceiling maybe.
Might have done it against the Heat, but I guess the Heat wouldn't have existed yet. So I think it was the Lakers. But now more I think about it, it's a pretty risky move.
Yeah, the Heat existed.
Well, I meant they didn't exist with LeBron and stuff like in 08.
Yeah, and Ray Allen.
Yeah, a couple years away.
Risky move, but what is 10K really to you? The best story in the thing that I told you is the story of Kevin Garnett beating Big Baby Davis in an arm wrestling competition on the plane, ripping off his shirt, pounding his chest, and screaming, "I'm the silverback up in this bitch."
I need to watch this. He swears a lot, doesn't he?
Swears, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
A ton.
He's a swearer.
So, they do a good job of displaying just how tall and skinny he is. He's humongous, obviously.
He's big.
But
first high school guy, right? Once they redid the rule, was he the first? His class?
Might have been. I mean, he got his extension, his $126 million extension. He was 21. I mean, he was definitely a high school guy. I don't know if he was the first. Andrew on the YouTube stream says, "What kind of zip up is that, Middlekauff?"
Are they John Boys? Is that what they're called?
Huh?
You know remember the kind we got? John Boy?
Oh, the brand? No, it's
Johnny's.
Johnny O.
Yes, Johnny O.
Good brand.
Olympic. We played there.
I didn't wear mine today. Johnny O. Yeah, solid brand. It's hard to find something that fits you well. It's what last year during the NCAA tournament, actually the whole year, Mick Cronin and the UCLA staff, remember UCLA had been Under Armour, then Under Armour quit them.
Pandemic,
they got Jordan.
Financially impacted. Stock was down.
Yeah, talk about selling at the wrong time, UCLA basketball. They go Jordan brand, but the deal doesn't start until like after the tournament. So they were all wearing, it must have just been like, somebody ordered it for them, UCLA logo on it. They were all wearing Johnny O. If you go look at any UCLA stuff from last year, that's what they're all wearing, which is funny because the logo is like a guy holding a surfboard, which is just a funny logo to see on a basketball court,
Yeah.
Tony Kornheiser wears Johnny O, says Ali.
Maybe honestly, it's really comfortable. The one thing I did find, I'm not a hater of Johnny O, but my other color, they're both larges, dramatically different sizes. This one fits perfectly. The other one's a little big. I might have to get hammed, but it's not,
You're gonna get hammed?
Hammed, yeah. Hammed.
Zach Lambright says, "Hey, Ham, let me get a shout out for using my real name on the internet." Zach, don't call me Jack.
I've been
not
hemming a lot
Lambright.
of sleeves lately.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
You keep
it
it
out.
out.
My guy in business down here at the little corner store.
Was it a dry cleaner?
Yeah, it's a corner dry cleaner. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
John, this podcast, this show, as we record this on a Thursday, let's remind you, by the way, John's got the Tito's bottle already. We should say, don't forget to get in the Ham mailbag. Go to iTunes. We didn't remind people in the last one. Go to iTunes. Leave us a review, 5 stars. You give us like a jokey 4-star and it starts knocking us down and we're not laughing. Give us 5 even if you have some shit to talk. Talk the shit. We'll read it. Don't worry. Tell us your favorite bar. Leave us a question. Go do it. It helps out the show. We appreciate it. All right. Now you can show off that bottle, John.
Sponsored by Tito's, #1 vodka in America. And the weekend, really, depending on who you are, maybe it's already here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Well, next week, we got holiday week, so I bet half our listeners aren't going to do a damn thing at work all week. Basically a 7-day vacation, which then Christmas or Hanukkah is right around the corner. I mean, this is just time to hang out. And when you're hanging out, starting this weekend, to then even definitely going to Turkey Day, I would like some pictures on Thanksgiving with the meal, the stuffing around, and the bottle of Tito's. If any of you doing that, take pictures. Link us in any tweets, anything on Instagram. It's the number one vodka in America. I cannot hammer that home enough. Number one vodka in America. I'm going to go with I might have a vodka lemonade or John Daly tonight, actually. I hadn't had
do
a
you have
cocktail
iced
all
tea
week.
and lemonade on hand?
Yeah, I have. I get the go to Safeway, and I get the pre-made Arnold Palmer, the light, like the zero.
Yeah. You don't
Still
need the
pretty
full sugar one.
Well, you don't, because that one's still pretty powerful.
It's still got plenty of sweetness in it.
Oh,
It's probably just got
way
like an
in.
artificial sweetener, which is fine.
Honestly,
But-
for most people, if I put a little vodka in there, you would not even be able to tell with the zero, let alone the real one.
yeah, which is dangerous.
Yeah, it is very dangerous. That's why I just
Goes down a little
be
too easy.
responsible. Be responsible.
Tito's is awesome. You guys know it. It makes a great gift, by the way, for the holidays. Who wouldn't love that? It's the number one vodka for a reason. Tito's is not about that hype. Tito's is not about that bullshit. Tito's is about quality first and foremost. A quality that Tito himself has been honing in on since 1995 when he started his own distillery. It's 6 times distilled in copper pots, not columns. It's distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. It's 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Yeah, when you're out and about, make sure, when you're on premise, it's also called bars and restaurants, order Tito's. Even if the other menu, you might on the front of the menu have another, say, I want Tito's in there. I want that cocktail, but Tito's.
That's right. And they'll start be going, wait, what? But we have this other one on the menu. Like, no.
Tito's.
I'm not about that. I'm not going to just take what you put in front of me. Give me the good shit.
Don't let them dictate the terms.
That's right. That's what, who's the defensive coordinator for the Steelers? Legendary.
LeBeau.
That's what Dick LeBeau would say. We dictate the terms. You be the Dick LeBeau at the bar.
I loved it when he went into the Hall of Fame and they were showing clips from the 50s. He was a star corner on the Lions. I'm like, Dick LeBeau played in the NFL. I just assumed he was the old guy like Monty Kiffin just coaching defense. But back well before we were ever a thought in anyone's mind, Dick LeBeau was making tackles against Lombardi's teams.
I had no idea.
Neither did I.
Podcast also brought to you by the great Mexican delicious eats that you get at Puesto, John. Puesto. We cannot say this enough. Puesto. You say what you want about the Jaguars. Say what you want about the Jags. The worst part about the Jags is they don't have a Puesto in their stadium. That's the worst thing they got going for them. Think about that.
Yep. Well, if you're listening to this and next week the Minnesota Vikings are in town, the Niners do have Puesto in the stadium. Section 110, Section 129. If you live in the East Bay or just Northern California in general, there are 2, right? If you're in more north, there's one in Concord. More south, they call it the South Bay, which throws me off a little bit. When I think South Bay, I think ocean, but it's really inland, Palo Alto, Santa Clara, San Jose. There's one in Santa Clara, really right by the stadium, right down the street, guy. So we got Puestos up here. If you live in South Bay, when I say South Bay, I think Southern California. There's a ton down there. Just Google them. La Jolla is where it started. No big deal. Entrepreneurs now feeding everyone tacos that are bomb.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You and I have been there. We love it. Everybody that goes tells us they love it. 7 locations in LA and the San Diego area. They got one in Petco Park. I don't know if there's a Top Golf situation going on at Petco right now, but you can find them.
You got Melvin's number still?
I do. I'll text Bo Mel and tell him to get some. I kind of been chilling on him. I didn't want to hit him up too soon after he left, John. And why would you do this, Joe? Bob, why? And then Bob would be like, here's why. I'd be like, I know why. All right, you don't have to tell me why. Taco Tuesday, every Tuesday, by the way, starts at 3, goes until close. That's half off all tacos at Puesto, plus happy hour Monday through Friday from 3 to 5, the Puesto happy hour, which includes the $9 Puesto Perfect Margaritas. By the way, taco recommendation from your boy. I'm a big fan of the quesabirria taco, which is the crispy melted cheese and the braised short rib, but you can't go wrong. You cannot. We ate. They were the full-size, big-ass tacos. We ate them all, and they were fantastic.
We ate them.
So go enjoy Puesto. And, we've been getting some of your photos of Puesto as well. So feel free to share that. We definitely love it. Good, just a good family-owned Mexican restaurant that is on another level. The Adler brothers are knocking it out of the park, and we appreciate their support.
For shizzle.
Harrowing Wisdom on YouTube says, what's the ham lock? Oh, now you want to know because we've won 9 in a row, 14 if you count. I guess it's 13 if you count the 14 parlay that we hit several weeks back. It's 13.
What if we picked every NFL game and hit it?
As a parlay?
$100 parlay. It probably would pay like, who knows, $1 million. I mean, it'd be outrageous, which is impossible. I think I've read an article before, like the statistical possibility. It might be a little different, right, on a bye week slate, but like when every team is playing all 30, so 16 games with the spread would be. I mean, it'd be borderline impossible just to pick them, just like the winner or loser.
I almost said we should do it next week when we have some time to prep, but we probably shouldn't prep for it, right?
Well, to me, you approach it like, the lady in your office pool for NCAA that always wins when the guy that's been watching all the games finished last, and she just picks based on the mascots.
Right.
And I think a huge part of gambling is, now we're definitely closer than just some random person, but you watch these shows, and our buddy Fortinbaugh's on one, like they do all this prep and they hit like, if they're good, most of them don't, like 52% of the time. Like it's not, someone DM'd me the other day. They're like, why are all these people putting all this money into these shows when the hit rate, it's not like you watch CNBC and these stock analysts, like I've made $100 million in investing. These guys aren't making any money on gambling.
The key is, hey, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just telling you why I'm doing it. And then it's up to you if you want to do this. This is not financial advice, right?
You think a lot of people on TV that are talking gambling right now actually gamble? Like would actually put just even $10 or $50 or no?
It's a great question. How could you not? Like you'd be...
Yeah.
I have a buddy, Marty, who sends me his picks all the time, and he'll say like 2 units. His units are 25 cents.
The gambler. Honestly, I didn't know they let you gamble that.
I don't know what. It's not at my bookie that he's doing. I couldn't even tell you. I got to go back and look at like a screenshot.
But I don't even know if they would have given us credit for Marty.
No. We're not getting. Ham1 at mybookie.ag is not giving us credit for Marty. Can you do? Someone suggested you can't even do a 16, or maybe it's I don't know who's on a bye. Would it be a 14-team parlay? Is that what it'd be?
Yeah, but it depends on the
30?
week. I think sometimes there's less. Sometimes there's like 24 teams playing. Who knows?
I guess the question is, does it even let you do that many teams in a parlay?
Let's just try it right now. I'll just randomly pick.
Here, I got it right here. Do you want to look at it this way so we can all see it together? This is not an insane idea. Let's just go through game by game. It's kind of an insane idea. Are we including Patriots Falcons in this?
Let's skip that one because by the time many people listen.
All right, Lions plus 11 at the Browns.
I'd take the Fighting Dan Campbell's.
Niners minus 6 at the Jags. We'll take the Niners. Colts plus 7.5 at the Bills. Colts.
I like the Colts.
Dolphins minus 3.5 at the Jets with Joe Flacco. Huh?
Kind of like Flacco in this spot. Feels like everyone's going to bet against him.
Football team plus 3 at the Panthers. I'm thinking Panthers feels like a reverse pick there.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Ravens minus 4.5 at the Bears.
Feels like the Bears could lose this game by 40.
All right. Saints plus 1.5 at the Eagles.
Kind of a weird line, don't you think?
It's a bizarre line.
Simeon's going on his 3rd straight start, though, so they might be in some trouble.
Eagles,
Philly win this? Yeah, let's go Birds.
They could easily lose. Texans plus 10 at the Titans. Feels like
feels like one. Yeah, it just feels like you look up like, damn, Titans and Texans are tied at 17 going into the 4th.
Did they already play a close game this year?
I think so. Yeah, them or the Jags.
I guess my thought is if they already played one close game, are the Titans going to play 2 close games with the Texans?
But aren't the Titans eventually going to run out of a little juice?
I thought that like 2 weeks ago.
They have not played the Texans yet.
Okay, so we'll take the Texans plus 10. Packers minus 1.5.
I think you're thinking the Titans lost to the Jets.
Okay. Packers minus 1.5 at the Vikings.
God, that line's moving.
It was what was it? What somebody sick? Did the Packers have a bunch of guys out?
I thought it was plus 2.5 Vikings. So it's gone down a point. Okay.
I've said I think the Vikings are valued, but I like the Packers here. You?
Don't really have a pick there.
Bengals minus 1 at the Raiders.
The Raiders are underdogs at home to the Bengals. Holy shit. I'll take the Raiders.
I agree. Cardinals minus 2 at the Seahawks. So Seahawks +2 at home against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in the last decade they've probably been an underdog at home a very small amount of time. I think I'd take the Seattle there.
Cowboys +2 at the Chiefs, 2.5
Chiefs.
actually.
Chiefs.
Giants. Is this Monday's game?
Yeah.
Oh, Giants Bucks Monday's game. Bucks -10.5 at home. Giants +10.5.
I'll just take the Giants +10.5.
Okay, so here we go. So if we put, it's not letting me. What the hell's going on here?
You scroll up.
So if we bet
Hit parlay.
$100 on that,
Hit parlay right there.
invalid number selected.
Yeah, it doesn't allow you to do that. You're just not able to pick that many games because they can't pay out 4,000
so
to 1.
We'd have to find what that number is. Maybe 10. Let's say it's. We just did all that segment for everybody. This might get edited out of the podcast.
Yeah, let's screw this. This is in it.
Hold on, let's just take it. Let me just click out of a couple games here. Let's get it down to 10 games. I took the Niners out. I didn't mean to, but we can always switch that back. And yeah, so 100. We could do 10-team parlay. 100 pays 1,400. Doesn't feel like enough.
No, it doesn't pay 1,400. Guy pays plus 15. It plays 59,000.
It just says potential win amount. Oh, that's. Why is it telling me? You see that right there? It says 1,400 potential win amount. But you're right. It's win 1,400. There we go. Now I just had to reset it. 59,000. I say we take a shot, John. Is that throwing away $100?
Yes. Maybe we do that next week, like 7 games. We do a 7-game parlay, something like that.
We'll do that next week. We'll prepare for that, so it's actually a good segment instead of what we just did.
Yeah, we might have to cut that bad boy out.
That was YouTube only for you guys. Or we could leave it in. I mean, just making a note here. All right. So mybookie.ag promo code HAMMER the number 1. After all of that, you use that promo code. They'll double your first deposit up to $1,000. Remember, if you bet that, if you deposit, if you accept the bonus, you have to bet the full amount before you can withdraw funds. You can also decline the bonus. Ham 1. We are going with. We actually jumped on this. It turns out too early. We already jumped on it yesterday. The Niners -6.5 on the road at the Jags, and it's now down to 6.
It is a risky spot anytime a West Coast team goes out there. But to me, if the Niners were like, what's their record? 4-5. So if they had been like 6-3, this would be a game I'd be a little nervous at, right? A good team going out there, the game be tight. The Niners have no room to like, how do they not approach this game like a Super Bowl, a playoff game? Like, this is a fucking huge game. Like, to me, I'm not as worried about them. Like, they just overlook the Jets. Like, they're not overlooking anybody at this point. They're dying for wins. And I think, all the analytic community, the DVOA guys and the power ranking guys, they thought the Niners were pretty good. Yep. And I think you saw glimpses of that.
And by the way, the DVOA is not guys. It's just numbers. They were top 10 coming into last week's game.
So they should destroy the Jags. Now, so should the Bills a couple weeks ago, and the Jags defense can be feisty. I saw like on the ESPN when you just click on scores, it has the weather next to the line, and it showed a little rain cloud, which actually I think is good for the Niners. Like they want to run the ball 75 times. So, and who knows if Elijah Mitchell? I'd want him to play, but if Trey Sermon's got to play, I mean, fuck, he was the 3rd round pick to go with Wilson Jr. Like, just slam the ball, slam the run.
Yeah, I watched some of the Colts Jags game today from last week. That game was 17-0 in the first quarter. Colts field goal, Colts block punt for a touchdown, which feels kind of fluky, except the 3rd down play they almost picked Trevor Lawrence off, so it went near interception, block punt, touchdown, 10-0. Then they marched down, score again, 17-0. Then the Jags scored a touchdown. They missed the extra point. They got 6. They get a field goal before the half. So it's whatever it was, 17-9 at halftime. They come out, score again immediately. Kick a field goal. So it's 20-9 Colts. Then the Jags score at the beginning of the 4th quarter. And for like 8 minutes, it's a 3-point game. And then the Colts kick a field goal and win. So the Colts had chances to pull away. I don't know if it was them. I don't know if I'm with you. The Jags are feisty. They're not like the total joke team that we thought. Jamal Agnew, had an explosive run in that game fast. They are aggressive. Like they got some talent. Like when you watch their pass rushing talent, like they got some guys flying around, and they made Carson. Like Jimmy's just got to get rid of the football, not try to do any crazy Carson shit. So, this is not. We took them again. The Lions. Who's worse, the Lions or the Jags?
I would say the Jags have better play. Obviously, the Jags have won a couple times. I mean, I think it's pretty close.
Point is, the Niners had the Lions put away and did not cover.
Yeah.
When that game was 6 or 6.5.
Was week 1. It's a little different,
I'm just saying, like, we understand that this is, like, we are taking a risk here, and we jumped on it, and it went down.
If the Niners are going to make the playoffs, they win this game to me by 10-plus points.
So, other games we considered here, we're actually going to have a college lock of the week we'll tell you about later in the show. Other games we considered, we have liked Minnesota historically. I like Green Bay this week, though. I
heard a stat that their expected win probability going into the fourth quarter, based on their 9 games, have been 6.7 wins. And obviously, somehow Minnesota's fucked up a bunch of games, and Green Bay has pulled some of these games, Arizona, Cincinnati, a little bit out of their ass. So it's like, and if you just sit there on your couch, Minnesota comes up on red zone a lot, you go, God damn, these guys are pretty solid.
Yeah. But
they also could lose the game. It is at home.
Here's how I view that game. I view that game as Minnesota. I think Minnesota could easily win it, but I just when you're getting points with the Packers, it seems like a little bit of value to me. But I don't know. Maybe that's a public bet because I'm with you. I think Minnesota's been undervalued.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
but they get points. That's the thing. Like they do get points. Like they got points against the Chargers, won outright, getting points here. I would say I wouldn't say they're undervalued. I just think they're good value. Like I think they're getting it's because they keep, their record is what it is, but you're in position to win money if you gamble on them. So maybe that is undervalued.
They're good value for us as we talk about them. They're good value. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the way you said it better.
Could the Eagles just beat the Saints? Like part of when you start, Trevor Siemian was their third string quarterback. Technically it was like Jameis and then Taysom, but then Taysom got hurt, so they had to kind of mix Siemian as the backup. I think they signed him. Pretty sure they signed him after the season. Don't quote me on that. But the more and more Trevor Siemian plays, the worse he gets because that's what happens to backup. Trevor Siemian, if you rank the quarterbacks, he's closer to 60 than he is 30, right? So it's just the more and more he plays.
60?
Like Trevor Siemian?
When coached by the Saints, when coached by Sean Payton?
I'm just saying if you just put them all out there,
Yeah.
I'm with you. With him and Payton, he's probably 35, but just in a vacuum.
I mean, but that's what he is. He's Sean Payton's quarterback.
I guess he's been there he was there last year too.
I'd have to think about it. My first reaction is I disagree that he's closer to 60 than 30.
Maybe he's closer to 45 than 30. You're right. 60 is pretty bad. Because once you get past 40, it's just a trash group.
Because he might be better than a lot of backups, even though he's the third stringer.
Well, would you take Siemian? Let's just use the two guys the Niners have dealt with a lot, Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard. You probably would take Siemian over both those guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
CJ's
yeah. I would take him over both those guys.
Is CJ closer to 60 than 30? CJ might be 60.
I think so.
Yeah. He probably.
I mean, Kamara's back, I think, or at least is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
From his MCL.
Eagles are playing well. I mean, they've just.
Well, you know who's good? It's Devontae Smith.
You see PFF, he's the number 1 rated rookie.
I did not see that. He's a rated rookie?
It's funny, when PFF likes a guy that I don't, it's like, who are they? And when they do, it's like, you see
They
PFF?
don't know the plays!
When they do like a guy, you see Devontae Smith? Knew it. Hey, PFF, you don't need to keep tweeting about Trent Williams. We know, we all watch. He's dominating. It's every week. He's like, he's the highest graded player. It's like, yeah, we saw the game. He's fucking sweet.
I don't mind it. I mean, especially for offensive linemen who, I heard a clip. Mario Cristobal the Oregon coach went on an interview with Coach K. Interviewed him on Coach K's show on Sirius XM.
I've heard that every once in a while driving around. It'll be like, Coach K, bring it on. It'll be like Bruce Springsteen. Like, he'll just have famous people on.
What was the one I heard a while back? It was like, who was it? It was like, it wasn't this guy. But
General
it was
Schwarzkopf.
No. It was like Cliff Kingsbury. It was like that type of, it wasn't him, but it was like that type of level.
Sean
coach.
McVay?
No, maybe it was McVay. That would not be the Cliff level coach.
He does have on football coaches a lot.
He does. But what's interesting, I just love, he asked, like, one of his questions to Mario Cristobal was like, so all the uniforms, is that your decision? It was just like the best. Like, Coach K just asked that question. If I asked that question, Mario would be like, fuck out of here. Coach K asked that question, that gets a real answer. But, what Cristobal said, which is what everyone always says, which is the only time an offensive lineman gets his name called is when he's committed a penalty. So I don't mind PFF giving Trent Williams his flowers.
You see TMZ was all over Coach K's grandson getting a Dewey.
Got a Dewey. And did you see Paolo Banchero? I've never heard of like an assisting and abetting a DWI, because I guess he gave maybe it was Paolo's car. He gave the keys to Coach K's Paolo Banchero, who's like the number 1 pick in the draft next year.
Yeah.
Him or, so he's the star player. So my guess is what happened is like Paolo
he was not driving. Yeah.
Paolo drove, and they were like, Paolo, you're too important. We can't have you drive. I'll
switch
drive.
Seats.
Yeah, switch seats. They're both drunk. So that's why Paolo gave him the keys. And maybe that's the deal when it's your car. I'd never heard of that one.
Oh, I wonder if the cop saw them switching seats.
Oh, I see. Oh, I guess that's you're saying you think Paolo was driving and switched seats?
Well, that's what I would assume, because it's like, I'm not driving. It's just my car. Who cares?
Yeah, it could be the way I read it.
Someone else's car, I thought.
Yeah, clearly. You can, but I'm saying the way I read it was like he gave the kid his keys, and when you give an inebriated person the keys, you're aiding a DWI.
Gotcha. So
but maybe they did a seat change. I don't know.
I'd be lying if I said I clicked on any of the links. I just saw headlines.
Yeah, understood. I didn't quite. I read it skim because I'm a big Paolo Banchero guy. But
what position did the guy play? Like small forward?
I mean, he's like 6'8", just fucking looks like LeBron. Just incredible.
They look good. I mean, I did watch some of them against Kentucky. I was like, holy shit, they housed them. They look sweet.
Yeah, they look good.
Coach K's gonna make. I feel like he's gonna like. What do you think? Like 5 a.m. suicides for both those two guys?
Yeah. Who are they suspended against? Grand Valley State. That'll teach them.
5 a.m. suicides, and Shire, the coach next year, he'll meet you there. I'm gonna be sleeping.
That's right. All right, let's dive into it, John. There's a lot. I'm just reading some. Someone in the chat. Niners are going to finish 11-6. The reply: we lost to Colt McCoy. So yeah, that's a great way to start this. Where are the 49ers right now? The football gods are trying to help a team that you could only once complain only got bad breaks. Got no Robert Woods. They got no Kyler Murray, which was actually. We could go back. The football gods gave them no Kyler Murray, no DeAndre Hopkins, no AJ Green, and the Niners were like, we don't know what to do with this. So the gods were like, all right, no, seriously, we're going to give you another shot. Like when you used to be in the backyard shooting, you're like, last one before I go inside. 3, 2, and you miss it. You're like, one more. Oh, he gets the rebound. Oh, they added time to the clock. 3, 2, and then the Niners beat the Rams. The football gods.
Mine was always like Michael Jordan to Middlekauff in the corner.
Scottie Pippen was like, that's not what would happen.
It's like, we know, Scotty, you miserable SOB.
So the football gods hit him with another one, John. The Jags this week, and a chance to be 500.
To me, it's pretty crazy, and it just shows you the nature of L's, and they were taking them. But when you get one good win against a good team, even if you have total ownage over them, it does feel like you got some life into you, and it's the way they did it, the players that dominated. You win this game, you're 5-5. It felt like after they got their ass kicked, and let's repeat, their ass kicked by Colt McCoy and the Cardinals, it felt like they were like a 2-8 team, a 3-7 team. All of a sudden, you're 5-5, and luckily, and we'll get into the playoff picture, you are more than alive, right? You are more than alive with an enormous game coming up against Minnesota at home. So, but we talked about this when the Raiders went out to to New York. I think we've talked about this before. I remember, was it the Rams last year that I think lost to the Jets in New York? They had or maybe it was the Giants. They had a bad late season loss on the road. And that felt like when McVay's like, I'm out on this guy. And it can get weird because the time zone. And a lot of times, though, like the Rams example, if you're a playoff team, I do understand it. I've always defended these people are human beings. Like Belichick can get, and he's king of this, Saban too. Like this Razorback team, they easily could be 11-0. Playing the Jets, and Saban or Belichick would be like, they got the best special team unit I've ever seen. And if you let Mike White or Flacco make one play, they can kick our asses. It's easy for him to say that. It's another thing for the players to be sitting there in the film room being like, these guys suck. The Niners are in no position to look at anyone and think anything other than we are in absolute desperation mode.
Yeah.
Because I think if they were winning, this would be a very, very scary spot. Like if they were 6-3, I think we talked about this before we hopped on. But I do not think, like I saw this clip yesterday, and I remember this because I remember watching the game with my dad because it was during Christmas. I think it was the Saturday of Christmas weekend. They played the Jags. And Telvin Smith at the time, I think he had like a mental breakdown or quit or got in trouble. But Jalen Ramsey, it was that team that ended up going to the AFC Championship game, and they lost to the Bill Belichick and the Patriots. He called it a hat and t-shirt game, and they were coming out to play the Niners. And I think it was like Jimmy's second or third start, and the Niners kicked the shit out of them. I mean, it probably was Jimmy's. We have to look at the stats of those 5 games. It feels like his best game. They dominated that game. I think the final score was like 44-33, and the Jags scored a little bit in some garbage time. It was like it was the finest moment of the season because the Jags were a powerhouse team.
It's easy to forget.
But it was understandable, like they're coming west, we're playing the shitty Niners. The Niners are in no position to be like, oh, we're playing Clown Urban and Balky and these crappy players, right? Because you look at, sometimes I've clicked a couple times over the weeks, Trevor Lawrence's box scores look pretty horrendous, guy. He is not, part of it he's in that market, but it has not gone. Like when you're called the greatest prospect since, and you have this type season, like let's face it, I'm not blaming all him, but it has not gone well for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I don't think, he's not happy. Everyone always makes the Peyton Manning threw 28 picks his rookie year. I mean, they did go 3-13. I don't remember what that season looked like, so I'm a bad narrator on that. I mean, he was 26 touchdowns, 28 picks, 3-13. I don't think bad. Trevor Lawrence is not throwing 28 touchdowns though. He's got 8.
Yeah, I mean, he's 8-9. So what's he on pace for? About an 18 type season? Pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not good. Like throw a pick. Like to me, you throw a bunch of picks, but you're throwing touchdowns. From what the times I've watched them,
how about guy 58% completion percentage is pretty alarming.
Yeah, Peyton was 57, but in a different time, right?
Inflation, right? What's that?
Absolutely,
probably like 64.
Yeah, I mean, we looked when we interviewed Jonathan Smith. I think at that point in time, there were like in 1999, 2000, there were like 17 guys that were 64% in the country. Now it's like 80 of them. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like the vast majority of college quarterbacks are in that low 60s range. 20 years ago, nope. Like 15 guys were in the low 60s.
Like think about guy Jimmy this season is 66, and he's pretty inaccurate.
Yeah, he's inaccurate with completions though. Like I watched some of the Jags Colts game the other day.
His receivers, Laviska,
Lawrence, they missed some throws that are just like keep your head on a swivel if you're standing on the sideline. Like they are all over the place. Like there was one Laviska Shenault's just like Laviska Shenault's got body language. He's feeding Dan Arnold like.
Kind of like Dan Arnold, not going to lie.
Yeah, well, Dan Arnold was on the Panthers, and now he's there. So, but they put it this way. I can understand Colt McCoy and Cliff Kingsbury, and I like them getting a little mojo against you, fine. This cannot look like that. Like, I don't know if the Panthers have offensive pass game rhythm in the bag.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they lost 41-10 or whatever, it'd be – people will want Kyle fired that night.
I think part of the question is the Niners, I think, obviously they found some stuff. But it was partly a runaway train. And it happens. Like you start rolling the way they rolled, and sometimes it just gets better and better and better and better.
Pick 6 5 minutes into the game is a game changer when you're up 7-0.
Yeah, I'm not saying the Jags are I'm not saying the Rams are easier to play than the Jags. I'm just saying it might not look as easy this week because it compounded. But one of the things you want to see is that, and this is kind of what the Bears game was, just they beat the Bears and they had some good, the second half was better, but you want to feel like what happened last week carries over and then carries over again. It's one blah, blah, blah cliche at a time, step at a time, all that. But like they are going to have to keep going, and you'd like for them to not have to sweat this one out. Just it feels like maybe they as a team got a little something.
Especially because we have gambling on them. It's like cover, guys.
Yeah, I know. But I'm not even like, if you watch, I watched some of what Garoppolo said the other day, and I know Shanahan said it too, is they felt like they were practicing well going into the Arizona game. Like they had thought they'd turn a corner going into that game, and then they had a couple turnovers. And I think the key in this thing is just don't do anything don't shoot yourself in the foot in the first half of this game, and it shouldn't be a problem.
But I will say this. You and I have been around football long enough. Any fan that has watched their team long enough, like teams have practiced shitty, be like, yeah, we didn't have a great week of practice, and then blow someone out. Had good week of practice and lost by a lot.
Yeah.
To me, it's just about when the game starts, you have way better players than them. You have impact guys that they cannot match you. And you have that against the Rams, let alone this team. So if you guys truly give a shit, which you should, because your season is still on the line, like you're still playing for a lot, and you have no margin for error because of the shitty start you had, you should just be making plays left and right. It should just be like, we are just way better than you. And you guys fucked up so early that it's be like, I want to go nuts, right? Like this is a game, like I do think Brandon Ayuk is going to have a game where it's like he scores 100 yards and 2 touchdowns or something. Like this could be that type of game. Like their team, their secondary. Like I come on. Now Josh Allen, who had some Josh Allen on Josh Allen crime. Like he, I would imagine they're going to put him over whoever the hell's playing right tackle. Like you're not be like, let's line Josh Allen against Trent Williams. Probably not, So you're going to have to keep an eye on him. But, and the thing with bad teams, you only have so many true haymakers in you. Like the Lions have been throwing these haymakers like 3 or 4 times, but then every once in a while they'll just lose like 40-0. Like, you can only keep getting up, and losing. Like, I think the Colts game is a good example of, like, it's a divisional game, so it's just naturally easy to get up. So, some of the guys on the team that have been there a couple of years, like, you just get up naturally for a divisional game. So different. Like you said about the Arizona example. Like, yeah, their backups were playing, but a lot of guys in that room are like, fuck the Niners, right? It's just an easy one. This one, it's like, we gave everything we had last week, and we still lost. Part of it, I could see the Jags being a little flat, and you should just knock them out. Like, this is not like the Bears game. You should not come out full. You should be able to make plays. And when you make plays against good teams, it might not equal scores, right? It might just equal field goals or whatever. Against bad teams, making plays equals touchdowns. It's just that simple. Period. End of story. And they got way too many playmakers when the 3 guys are healthy in Kittle, Ayuk, and obviously Debo. And their running backs and their ability to scheme the run, like, it should be on like Donkey Kong. Now, I'm not cocky to think it's a lock to happen, but it should. And if it doesn't, then we'll have to come back to earth a little bit. A loss would be pretty glaring indictment on everything.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to shake this loss. I mean, it was hard to shake the Colts loss, but luckily you had the Rams the next week, and you kind of earned back a little respect. It would all go away, and I don't care what you would do the next week against Minnesota. You wouldn't be able to take Kyle. It's like you can't get your team ready to play these guys.
It would when they played the Bears, I think the Bears were the worst third down team in the NFL, and the Niners were like second or third worst. And remember, the Bears were picking up third downs left and right with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
The Jaguars are by far the worst third down team in the NFL right now. By far. They shouldn't be able to sustain anything. Now, Eric on the stream comments that the front seven's not too bad. I watched them. Did I mention this already, or did I say it off? They did create. Carson only got sacked once, but it's Carson. They created some problems for Carson, but that's Carson. Carson hangs on to the ball, tries to make a bunch of plays. Like, it's got to be back to the other day. Jimmy just get rid of the ball quickly, which is fine. That's part of what he does anyway. So I do think they can create some problems for you if you let them. But if you run the ball and get rid of the ball when you throw it, I don't think you're going to have an issue.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor went for 115 on him. Obviously, he's a really good player, but I'm just saying, like, you should.
Yeah, they should be able to run the ball.
And if the Niners can run the ball, it's when they're good, right? Because they started running the ball against the Bears, and that's when they kind of obviously the Debo play happened, but then they just got the running game and everything just kind of comes. Feels like when they get like, oh, backs against the wall, can't run. Jimmy can't snap into like Josh Allen because he's not.
Jags are 106 rushing yards per game. God, the Rams are awful against the run. They're middle of the pack. I take it back. I don't think there's much to be concerned about. Again,
I feel pretty good.
I feel good as well. Again, this is our lock also. But you cannot do things that make you worry about if you're still the person you used to be. And the person the Niners used to be for a period of time is a team that turns the ball over, a team that doesn't convert third downs. I think they're still probably, from my perspective, maybe I'm projecting on them, in a bit of a fragile state in that I want you to start fast and not start thinking, here we go again, like they have before. And, then you're okay. So I don't know how many risks you'll try to take in the passing game, but I think one thing, and this is where we might be in danger of not covering, is that Kyle Shanahan probably knows it's a field position game with the Jags. Like, you can make them punt, just don't let them end up on your 40 because you went for it. I wonder if he went for all those fourth downs. Now, he did it late when the game was out of hand because he knew the Rams could score with him, or at least in theory that the Rams could score with him. I wonder if he approaches this game the same way.
I don't know. I think there was a moment earlier this season, I can't remember the game, where he punted and he said it was a mistake. Like, I think he's an aggressive guy naturally when it comes to this stuff.
I agree with that.
I think you keep the fucking pedal on the metal and you try to, curb stomp him.
Javier Vega, what's up, Javier, says on the stream, Jags are going to try and force Jimmy outside the numbers. Linebacker play for the Jags are pretty good. That's when JG10 gets in trouble.
It's why you hand off.
Does Jimmy throw outside the numbers?
That's why you hand off, guy. Well, yeah, he does. When the guy's behind the line of scrimmage, it's a quick screen.
Oh, okay. Does that count statistically?
Yeah, it's just like to 11 or 19 when they just stop and you just throw it outside the numbers.
I don't know if that counts.
The ball doesn't go vertically; it just goes, horizontally.
Yeah. Statistically, I mean, I wonder. I don't. That can't count a behind the line of scrimmage throw outside the numbers.
No. But that is Jimmy's outside the numbers pass.
Man.
You're going to have to throw outside the numbers in a week, which we'll get to, because you have to score more points. This game, you could be able to win like 21-10 or something, right? And here's the other thing. This guy will throw you the ball, which is crazy to think. But it just shows you, like, the moment you leave the little bubble, which he created, right? Because when Trevor was there, even though I look Clemson, they play Wake Forest, they could go 9-3 this year. It's like their shitty year. They're still going to be 9-3. It's like, that's why I dab them. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, he didn't regress, right?
No, but they didn't.
Talked about the other day.
They didn't necessarily that much either. But at one point in time, they were like 3-4, and it looked like they could win like 5 or 6 games. But they got it. They do play in the ACC.
They do.
But they miss this guy. But he also misses them because it's like, this is a little harder up here, guys. Because part of being the number 1 overall pick, I think back to Manning, this is the defense of that guy always. They're usually going to such a shitty team. The thing people forget a little bit about Luck, he was awesome. His team had just been shitty. They had won 10 straight games for a decade straight. They still had a lot of really good players.
They just needed a quarterback.
They just removed Peyton. Like that Peyton team in 98 and this Jaguars team did not just need a quarterback. They need like 17 other things, including potentially a coach. Did you see that if Dan Mullen gets fired, he's probably going to, like, he has Schottenheimer and Bevel, I think, on his staff. He'll go fire those guys and just make Dan Mullen his offensive coordinator. Like, get the band back together.
Yeah. Great idea.
I don't think Dan Mullen's ever coached in the NFL, so that'll work.
If Urban's coaching the team next year, I'll be shocked, but then maybe feels like it's stabilized a little bit.
I feel like he's got 2 years in him.
It feels like that now. I thought a few weeks ago that there was no chance.
With the, touching the women at the, well, they were touching him too at the bar.
Well, just the losing and the skipping the team flight, more about all just like the stress, all of that. Like, I thought the stress of it all.
Things change fast.
Was going to get to him. There's no such thing as style points in the NFL, but not all 5 and 5s are created. Not all 500 records are created equal. Part of it is who you beat. Part of it is how you look. And, this is the kind of game that can just get them some momentum if there's such a thing. And I think part of it is, and I saw the the stat here in the comments because we talked about it the other day. I don't remember. I think it was an ESPN Stats and Info or Next Gen, whatever it was, about Garoppolo 88 and his last 89 snaps out of the shotgun. Like more of that, right? Again, you don't need Elijah Mitchell, you don't think, but I would like to see him play because he's their best running back. Maybe Trey Sermon can get a few carries in there. It'd be nice if you can get a little movement.
Trey Sermon.
I would too. So it's just take another step, and you feel like maybe we could reopen our our hearts to the possibilities of them not taking a step backward after they take one forward.
Well, I'm looking at these playoff possibilities, guy. They look tasty.
Well, let's talk about like the other things that the Niners need to have happen for them. Right now that the door is open, they're kind of to me like Oregon in the CFP, where I've talked about Oregon. We've talked about it. Like they gotta, as long as they keep winning. If you have Ohio State and Cincinnati, and what if Alabama's a 2-loss? The most important part of the whole CFP argument for Oregon is that Oregon wins. Like that's the essential part. So the essential part here is the Niners win, but here's other things they need to be rooting for. Let's go through them.
Do you still, really quick, feel very good about the top 5 teams, or just in? Green Bay, Cards, Dallas, Tampa, Rams. We locking those squads in?
I think so.
I think it's fair to do that too. Then you go from 6 to 9 is a bunch group of the Saints, which are currently 5-4 and lost a couple straight games. You have the Panthers, which, give them a little credit, went on the road, got a win to get to their 5-5. You have Minnesota, who's 4-5. They play the Packers. And you got the Niners, all kind of bunched there. And we're recording this before the Thursday night game. Falcons are 4-5. Let's just assume the Patriots win, which you can't really do on Thursday night games, but I guess you got to throw them in there. You have, it's not just the 7 spot is kind of iffy. To me, there are 2 spots, the 6 and the 7 spot. So the Saints, it goes back to Kyle. I think Kyle said this because I think he stole it from Tomlin because he was listening to the podcast. Like, it's about the A players, making your A players play like A's. But also a huge part of that when Tomlin told the story was like Monty Kiffin telling him any good coach for a game can get a C guy to play like a B game. I agree. One part that got left out of there, well, what happens when you have to start your C guy? When your B guy is injured and you got to start your C guy? And that, like, the Saints, they're on to Trevor Siemian. So Trevor Siemian has to start out. I'm with you. Sean Payton, we saw that list. He makes like $15 million. Their defense is solid. Obviously, Kamara's a star. But anytime he's your starting quarterback, just going on the road, like that's not a lock to win that game. And just, even if they beat the Eagles, just keep winning. And Carolina now plays a combination of P.J. Walker and a guy who literally got cut, not because he wouldn't get the shot, because he couldn't complete passes in Cam. Those are 2 quarterback, like we talk about the quarterback position. Those are pretty iffy fucking quarterback situations, guy. I mean,
neither one of those teams. No. Neither one of those teams is making the playoffs, I don't think. And the thing about New Orleans is,
well, to me, the Saints could be in the mix. You don't think?
How?
You don't think they could just stay alive because their defense is good, their coach is good?
I should take it back because it's hard to find 2 teams that you really like for the 6 and 7 spots. So that's why they have a shot.
They still play the Jets. They still play the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long year. Like they
Bills, Cowboys. Yeah, it's tough.
Now,
it's tough.
The Saints' strength of victory is the second best in the NFL. The only team with a better strength of victory in the league is the Jets.
Well, because they beat the Packers, who have went 8-2, and they beat the Bucks.
Yeah, it's the teams they've beaten have a .541 winning percentage. There's only one other team that's in the playoffs right now whose opponents that they've beaten have a record over 500. That's Arizona in the NFC.
Not the
Titans. In the AFC, there's only one team, and it's Tennessee. Yeah, Titans. So the Saints have done some good work, but they don't get bonus points for those wins. They still have half their season to go almost, and they've got
the
5
problem
wins.
is if you beat an 8-2 team, well, if you also beat a 2-8 team, it's even, right?
Yeah. That's why the Jets, it's like their strength of victory. Who cares? But is high at the winning percentage.
I'm not going to try to live in the past. I try to stay forward. If the Niners just would have either beat fucking Colt McCoy or Indy, we'd be talking about them like they're going to make the playoffs. and they still, I actually feel pretty confident that they're going to be right in the mix. But their margin for error with those 2 losses just set them back. Which they're lucky they still get to play Minnesota right in a week. So you win this week. I think you just got to root for, like you and I kind of want Minnesota to win to make that game really important. So I'm personally rooting for Minnesota, but big picture, like if you want the Niners, you just want to get them out of the way.
Yeah, you want Minnesota to lose.
But definitely you're rooting for the Eagles and football team this week.
You want
right?
Philly to beat New Orleans, right? And then Philly's 5-6, and New Orleans is 5-5, but whatever.
You already beat the Eagles.
Exactly. Did you say you want Carolina to lose?
Yeah, football team. Root for Heineke.
And then I think the other, unless you're taking Atlanta seriously.
I think Carolina will naturally play its way out of it. I think the Saints, though, just with their culture, their coach, you actively need to root against them because the Panthers are much more likely to go on a 3 or 4 game losing streak than the Saints. Do you agree with me on that one?
Yeah.
So the Panthers will take care of itself. Like, to me, if you're the Niners, like, you want to get up there, you want to get the highest seed as possible, right?
Sure, but at this point, I'm not being picky.
No, I'm just saying, but you just want to keep winning. Like, it just might open itself up to 10-7 gets the 6th seed.
Yeah. I think the team that is well down the standings right now in the NFC that you have to just keep an eye on is Seattle. Seattle plays Arizona this week. Then they play the football team on the road. They could lose that game. They've been weird. They've lost 4 of 5. I mean, they only have 3 wins this year.
You see DK's hurt and Bobby Wagner's he needs to get his shit together. They got some weird things going on there.
I agree. They do.
Pete might get fired or quit.
But here's the thing. They've beaten the Niners already. That's the reason I'm keeping an eye on them. If you've beaten them,
they do play again in a couple weeks.
I know. Well, just enough weird stuff can happen that you don't want to have been swept by Seattle. Are they going to win all these games? I don't know. But could they beat? If I told you they win their next 4, you'd go, well, I counted them out again like I do almost every year, and then it turns out they're in the mix. Arizona, Washington, the Niners, and the Texans.
All of a sudden, they're 7-6, and they're in the 6th.
And they've swept you.
Yeah, you'd be in trouble. Yeah.
And Russ is coming back. I mean,
well, we're still 2 weeks away. You got to win that game. I mean, you got to go to Seattle and win the game. Like, that's a pretty big game because you can't get swept by the Cardinals and Seattle. And yeah, that'd be a problem. That'd be tough.
Unless you sweep the Rams.
And you'd have to win all these other games, and you'd need Seattle to start losing. Like, if Seattle were to sweep you and then go on a winning streak while they're doing that, you'd be in trouble, right?
Right.
So
and it feels like Seattle could.
I would say
you're losing other games.
Well, then you're right. There, I didn't. You need to root for Arizona to beat them and just knock them the fuck out. Because at 3-7, they're done. They're in trouble. They got weird shit going on. But there's 4-6. Then you said they play the football team. They'll probably be favored in that game.
And they're 5-6, and now they're in the position to
play you for a lot going on.
It's
right?
like their version of the Rams game last week for the Niners.
Yeah,
except they're one game under 500.
Yeah, and potentially you're 6-5, so that game's for all the marbles. And then all of a sudden you're 6-6. They beat you. They're 6-6. Well, they jump you because they beat you twice. You're right. I'd keep an eye on them.
Just they are the boogeyman. They are just.
But if Russ is off and the finger's not right, and the 19 hours a day doesn't get him right, and DK now is mad at everyone, and they could implode like this. They've had a decade long teams beside the Patriots just have an implosion season. It kind of feels like their implosion season. I'm not confident on that, but it's if Kingsbury goes in there and beats them, it'll feel like the implosion because they've had some pretty epic games. Those two teams, right? Feels like I remember Arians and Pete going at it. Hell, Kingsbury. Remember they had the game last year where DK ran them out.
Yeah, the DK chase down game. That was last year.
Yeah, Buda Baker in the.
That was last. God, it feels like a lifetime.
Last year. It was Sunday Night Football. I remember watching it.
It's still on. Like if you're Buda, you're like, I made this great play, and now it's on like every NFL AWS commercial where it's like catch percentage 9%, and it's an incredible play.
It's a lot of memes too.
Yeah. Sean says, don't need to beat Seattle. They'll play themselves out of it. Not a good team. Eric says, Russell will not be playing in Seattle next season. The Shill says, Seahawks are horrible. Kid Loose says, Seattle's not a playoff caliber team, even with Russ. This feels like on College Game Day where 7 people pick a certain team and then the other team, like when everybody on Monday night picked the Rams except for Ham and Steve Young.
What's funny is I was almost like,
I'll believe they're dead when they're dead.
Didn't they beat the Niners 28-7? And then I looked at this. It was 28-21, but it was like it was a garbage time touchdown in there. And was there a blown coverage where he hit Debo? Was that a different game? I think that might have been them or Ayuk.
A blown? Where the Niners hit. Sorry, you said Debo. I was thinking DK.
It might have been Sherfield. It was somebody.
Yeah, but
Lance hit.
Somebody in the chat might remember that.
Yeah, it was Debo. It was a blown coverage to Debo. It was wide open. He threw it down the right sideline. He just walked it in the end zone.
I guess there is an X factor because Eric says, "Why isn't Pete Carroll on the hot seat?" Do they turn on their coach once and for all? Pete does a good job of keeping that whole thing together. But
oh yeah, well last year when Pete missed the playoffs. Oh yeah, I forgot he won the division by 2 games. He won the division. Like, what do you mean? Why he's on the hot seat? They make the fucking playoffs every year.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about the hot seat. Although I wouldn't shock me if there's some.
I've heard
something
Russell
weird
happens.
Well, I mean, I've heard Russell's hard to get along with. So
yeah, well, he takes bodyguards to his own party where he invites everybody. So it's a little weird.
Where this invite only. Yeah, that was the story. Invite only, still has bodyguards.
That'd be like bringing bodyguards to your own wedding. It's like, well, you guys invited everyone here.
All the people here are people you invited.
Yeah. Sometimes you're just an elitist. You're an elitist.
Here's what I know: this team wins a lot, and they're playoff caliber, and maybe they're not this year. And maybe I would rather be late to recognizing that the Seahawks aren't good enough this year than early. Put it that way.
I agree with you.
The chat seems to be very confident, though. But
they hate Seattle.
Anybody else we need to identify this week?
I think the Eagles and football team will help you breathe. Because regardless what happens in Minnesota, you do play them next week. So it's like that one you can control. The Saints and Carolina, a little out of your control. You don't play them. To me, the Minnesota thing, if you had to rank them, they're the last on the importance. At minimum, you want either the Saints or Carolina, one of those 2 teams to lose. Minnesota, you root for them to lose unless you're gambling on them, then you want them to win. But to me, it's not as important because you get to fucking line up with them a week from now. And best case, I mean, you probably have the same record, right? If they do upset, you beat the Jags, boom, 5-5. That's good for our business. I kind of want them to win because I think that makes that game really important. And I want that game to
I understand. I look at it like, do you think 6-2, you agree, you feel, if I told you right now the Niners go 6-2 down the stretch, that means they were 10-7 team.
10-7, you're in the dance.
Right. You'd feel good about that. How would you, like, looking at the schedule, you go, okay, who are the 2? That means you got to beat, right? Some combination of Tennessee, the Rams again. You got to beat the Falcons. You got to beat the Bengals. You got to beat Seattle. I don't care what Seattle's record when you play them is, by the way.
No, I know. Yeah, cool.
Minnesota.
You got to go there. Yeah, you got to win these games. So actually, it wouldn't be 6-2. You would have gone 7-2 over your last 9 because you just beat the Rams, right?
You count the Rams game, yeah.
That's what you got to do. Go do it.
I think it's the position
possible.
They put themselves in. I do too.
I actually think 9-8 you'd have, depending on how it all shakes out. You're not dead, but more. But
some tiebreakers might come into play there.
Yeah, then you
better beat Minnesota head to head.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't think Atlanta's going to be there, but you better beat Atlanta.
Well, that's where the 9-8 thing, like, okay, you beat Jacksonville, but let's say Minnesota loses to Green Bay, but then Minnesota beats you, and then all of a sudden they're 5-6, and they climb back, and then they get to 9-8. You're at 9-8, but they beat. It's just you do have to win the games that are of the teams that you're playing in this mix, and the only team that you're playing right now in this mix is Minnesota, and potentially Seattle.
Well, I mean, whether they're in the mix or not, they can fuck it up for you.
Big time.
John, before we go any further, let's tell the people about Indeed. Indeed.com/ham. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Just think of it like that. If you're hiring, you need Indeed.com/ham. It is the #1 source of hires in the United States, according to Talent Nest. And right now, you get a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/ham.
Yep. Get on it right now. People, if you're listening to this, small business owner, I can't recommend Indeed enough. They make the Indeed assessments. You can reduce hiring time by 12%. We're all looking for people to hire. And the quicker you can get people to hire, faster it is, easier it is. So right now, with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/ham, get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/ham. Indeed.com/ham. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Attract, interview, hire, all in one place. They partner with you every step of the hiring process so you can find talent with the skills you need through the tools like what John said, the Indeed Instant Match assessments and virtual interviews. 73% of all online job seekers in the U.S. visit Indeed each month. Indeed.com/ham. Podcast also brought to you by our friends at sleepnumber.com/ham. Sleepnumber.com/ham. Well, right now you can save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed only at Sleep Number stores or sleepnumber.com/ham.
Okay, you know the key? Establish a routine. Get to bed. Don't watch TV too late at night. Turn off your phone in front of your eyeballs because it triggers these things in your brain. You want to stay awake, but even though you want to sleep, we've all seen the memes of like you're tired all day, but then it's time for bed and you can't fall asleep. A lot of that is on you. A lot of that is on you putting the lights in front of your head.
To be honest.
It sucks. You watch your caffeine intake, guy. Don't be drinking a cup of iced coffee at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Data shows sleepers who have caffeine in the evening are less restful and higher average heart rates than those who don't. So avoid the caffeine. Can't recommend Sleep Number, any more than we do. We love them. We've had them forever. Sleep Number, proven quality sleep is a life-changing sleep. It's time for Sleep Number's Black Friday specials. Save 50% on Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed. Plus special financing. Only at Sleep Number stores or sleepnumber.com/ham. Subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See sleepnumber.com/ham for details.
Sleepnumber.com/ham. Raiders turning point this week, John. Because they play.
It's a little weird. Do you think it's a little weird that it already flipped? The Bengals are now favorite. They were They were a 1-point favorite. Then on a couple days ago, then I saw yesterday was a pick 'em, and then when we've talked today, the line has flown 2 points. That's not Haberman and Middlekauff just betting. Right? That's people are.
We haven't bet that game.
But I'm just saying, like that's to get a 2-point line movement with no player, quarterback out. That's people are betting big money on the Bengals moving the line.
Yep. And it's I think it kind of illustrates that the Raiders are in a tenuous position right now. We talked about them after the Chiefs game. The dreams of the AFC West this year are over for them.
Done.
Now it's about hanging on for dear life and making the playoffs. Where at this moment in time, they are not in at 5-4. And it's a good AFC. Guess who else is a part of that battle at 5-4? Cincinnati. So now you're talking about being 5-5 and having that head-to-head loss. Guess who else is 5-5? Indy. Guess who else is 5-5? Cleveland. Those are not playoff teams. The AFC is much more difficult to make the playoffs this year than the NFC is. Much.
I think they're not as good at the top, but they're like 5 through 9 feel a little bit stronger than the NFC.
I would say they have all 7 other teams to me could be the one. Feel like at different points in time now the Chargers haven't been great, right? Pittsburgh tied the Lions last week, so I shouldn't say that about them. But feels like Kansas City hasn't really gotten going, and they're the 4 seed. And as you pointed out to me, the Raiders, this is going to come quick for them because they play Cincinnati this week, and then they turn around and play on Thursday, on Thanksgiving.
In what game?
The Lions game.
No, not the Lions game.
Oh, not the Lions game. The Cowboys game.
Wouldn't you say that's the marquee game that feels like most people are watching around their house? The Cowboy game.
Well, judging by the NFL ratings that I saw the other day, yes. I think a Cowboys game has been like one of the top. I think 6 Cowboys games are among the top 10 TV shows this year.
Well, to me, that's in its own category. You're going to be a heavy underdog. I saw the line was already like 7 on that game. But the one thing the Raiders have, starting with this game, is they play. We talked a lot about the Niners that don't really play those teams they're fighting for beside Minnesota. The Raiders play the Bengals, they play the Browns, and they play the Colts. Like they play those 3 teams. And so if the 7th spot is 9 or 10 wins, assuming that the Raiders can still get there, like they're going to have a chance to control their own destiny. But listen, I'm not trying to be coach cliche bullshit. If you can't win this game, I'm sorry, guy, I am completely out because it can snowball. And I saw Derek had some comments because let's face it, the last 2 years, I forget the exact records. I think 2 years ago they might have been 6-3. Last year, I think they were 7-4. Like they've had, not just like 5-4. Like they were several games above 500 in November and did not get over 500. Like, it's hard if you're 6-3 to not end up at 9-7, and they have not been able to do that. He claimed that he thought this team, when he talked yesterday on Wednesday, he's like, usually after shit hits the fan, I get here early, kind of propping himself up, on like a Tuesday to do some extra work. No one else would be there. He's like, this time around, a lot of people were there grinding. He's like, I feel the energy in here. Now, I do think maybe they're trying hard. They might just run out of gas. I think the Ruggs situation just might have derailed them. But let's face it, guy. We talked a lot about, you and I, and rightfully so, Derek's going to get himself a huge contract. They have no choice. And listen, maybe he still inevitably does, but they missed the playoffs again, and he plays like he has the last couple weeks, which, let's face it, not very good. I mean, he was atrocious in the Giants game.
Yeah.
The Chiefs game, he's just, if you have a $35, $40 million quarterback in a huge game, I need a better performance out of that. And he's kind of like, they need some like, hey, guys, I'm not just the team captain. I'm the guy they're about to give $150 million to. He kind of needs to, down the stretch, have some of those 3-4 touchdown games if it's even possible. But if he can't, if he doesn't dominate and play at a Pro Bowl level, they have no fucking shot. Do you agree with that? No, none. They're not good enough as a team.
Pro Bowl level, not all pro level. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, have several games where he's throwing like 3 or 4 touchdowns, or just balling in the game.
Yeah, I think the other thing is he is. I mean, with Crosby's been phenomenal. Like
their pass rush is good. Him and Yannick are good.
But I think Derek also, in a lot of ways, controls the pulse of the team. And when they're rolling on offense, like things feel really good. I think it's hard once you've been punched in the gut to get that back. And I told you this the other day after the Giants game. I absolve them of that performance. I really do, because I thought the Ruggs situation was, a total black cloud over that. And I think it might end their season, that situation. Now, Gruden's a part of it too. Like, say what you want about John Gruden. He was making $10 million a year, or I guess it wasn't technically, but he got a $100 million contract. Other people were trying to hire him too. And he's a good football. Like, he's not a joke of a football coach, right? We might think he's not a great GM. He's not their football coach anymore. But for all of Rich Bisaccia's qualities, like John Gruden had experience as a head football coach through many, many years, calling plays, running a locker room, all of that stuff. Maybe Rich has all the qualities necessary too, and time will show that. But they did lose something when they lost their head coach. And they got a little boost. It was like, we're loose around here. Okay. But then they go through another situation that is traumatizing and requires leadership. And now it's not smooth sailing without John Gruden. Like, Rich Bisaccia didn't just have to like take control of the wheel. Here we go, guys. Let's take. Gruden's gone. Interim coach has to handle the Ruggs thing now. Like, that is, to me,
that would have been crazy for Gruden. That would have been crazy for Andy Reid, Belichick.
So I think it's a lot. And it's why 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, you asked me, is this team making the playoffs? I said, hell yes, they are. Last week, you asked me, are they making the playoffs? I said, no. I think this Ruggs thing is just going to take them out. Now,
it could. If they lose this game, guy, it could all of a sudden they've lost because they lose the Cowboys. You're talking about a 4-game losing streak and them spiraling to like draft in the top 10.
Now, if they win, if they beat Cincinnati somehow, then maybe they can find something. They just need something to go right for them.
Well, I'll tell you, guy, don't they just need if their quarterback can just outplay Joe Burrow, which if you're going to make him a $35 million a year guy, and honestly, that might be low, right? I just wrote down 35, like based on the numbers, quarterbacks 40. You can't be getting your quarterback can't get outplayed every week. So, like, some of this pressure, like, yeah, all that shit was crazy. I wouldn't wish that upon. It's really impossible, tough to handle, because it impacted Derek. The only thing that didn't necessarily was Arnett. He lost his coach, his offensive coordinator. He lost his deep threat ascending, I wouldn't call him, who knows where his career went, but up-and-coming star, potentially wide receiver. Those are 2 direct impacts on Derek. Well, we gave him a lot of credit for handling the situation, being the leader. And I get it. Like, it's a difficult spot to compartmentalize. Did you see the story? I think when you get in trouble like that, they make you do like mandatory breathalyzers maybe every day. And Ruggs missed one, and the judge its situation is just I can't even imagine living there. And who knows? These guys watch like basic television, right? They're not just watching the local news, but it just be out there, right? Your girlfriend says something, your friend that's living with you says something, just your teammate. Like, did you read that news story on Henry? It's just it's still there, like it's in their backyard. It's probably one of the biggest sports stories in town, just the Henry Ruggs situation, right? And I don't know, man. I don't have much faith that he can. Not because I don't think he's talented enough. It just feels like it's a little overwhelming, and he's missing his guy. But if he wants to survive this season as a team and like have a chance to what we thought was a lock a couple weeks ago, guy, they need a huge performance out of him just this week. And let's say they were to get their ass kicked. Like, let's just say they lost by 10 and kind of shoved around. I mean, I bet by the time kickoff on Thursday, 10-point underdog? If they were to lose this game, 30-17 or something.
What do the Cowboys do this week?
Even win or lose, if the Cowboys just look good against Kansas City.
If there's some shootout game, which it feels like it could be.
But couldn't it get really ugly? Like you come off a loss, and then you're playing the Cowboys, and they're really good, and all of a sudden it's like you just see the Raiders implosion on Turkey Day while you're drinking a Tito's and having some stuffing.
Did the Raiders play on Thanksgiving?
They have before.
Was it last year?
I feel it was a couple years ago. I don't remember Gruden on Thanksgiving off the top of my head, but it could be wrong.
What would not have been at Atlanta last year.
A couple years ago, I won the DraftKings money, and Amari had a huge day on Thanksgiving. It might have been like 2018 when Gruden traded him to the Cowboys. I guess that could have been 17, 18, 19, 20. No, it would have been 18. I don't think the Raiders have played on Thanksgiving in a long time.
I thought it happened a couple of years ago, but I can't. My schedule's not loading.
I think that's a tough spot for him, that Thursday night game against the Cowboys. I mean, there's going to be 25 million people watching.
Yeah, they have not yet shown that they can be a team when their back's against the wall and the bright lights consistently show up.
Well, I'd say historically that's not really been Derek's strong suit. Not
and
even
now
just the team.
I mean, like, say again, I'll go back to like Gruden helped him. He became a better quarterback after John Gruden showed up. Agreed?
Yes.
So he lost that.
He became back to what he had been. He had been a good quarterback in the NFL, lost it, got it back.
Yes. So he lost that, and then he lost Ruggs. Like it's.
Are you still confident that he's like a lock scholarship guy for this team for the next 5-6 years? Feels like there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty confident about it, but new management, who knows?
If you like hired Doug Peterson, let's just say Doug Peterson takes over.
Yeah, I think
Doug wouldn't want to coach him. Why wouldn't he?
I think he's their quarterback for a while.
But they would have to give him a huge new contract, right? I guess you could give him like a 3 for 100 or something.
He literally has said he doesn't want to play anywhere else. So, do you?
Could you give him like a 2 for 50 extension?
Or do you lock him in for years and it's just an amount of money that is big for one human being, but is not big for quarterbacks, right? Like, you give him 5 for just like 125.
And guaranteed 80?
Hell, guarantee all of it. Who cares? It's $25 million a year for your quarterback.
Well, he's a tradable player then, even though he said he'd quit.
No trade clause. Does NFL do that?
Yeah, could you get him like 4 for 100 with a no trade clause? That would be a pretty smart deal. Because you would take Derek for the
of course it'd be a smart deal. I mean, for who? Like how? I'm being serious though. Like, what does his loyalty really get them from a monetary standpoint?
I think two things depend on Derek: how this season goes, how he plays. Because he's been really poor the last 2 games, beside like 2 series against the Chiefs, which Deshaun kind of screwed him. But it was just 2 series on the whole game. He was bad. Does he keep playing like that? And then who the next coach is? Mark could just detonate this place, right? I get a new GM, a new coach. Did you see when Eli asked Draymond, he's like, what's the meanest thing you could say to Peyton? And Draymond, you could tell, was like, I don't really want to say it. And he's like, Peyton, the Colts cut you. Or like, you were, whatever. He just took a jet. I was like, damn. The way he said it, though, was like good shit talk. So if Peyton Manning can get cut, if Tom Brady can leave in free agency, like I'm just sorry, like anything can happen in pro sports, right? So Derek can say he wants to stay, and it makes sense on paper. Like, where are they going to find a new quarterback? But we see it all the time. Like, people.
Yeah, I know.
He's not winning. Unless he wins this game and gets him back into playoff contention.
I know, but there's so many. I mean, it's also very easy to make a list of reasons why he's not winning that don't involve him.
There aren't many quarterbacks that get to play 9 or 10 years with one playoff appearance. It'd be like Kyle if he coached 8 years for the Niners and made
no, but I mean, there aren't many quarterbacks that play 9 years, and I would bet based on the number of coaches he's had,
no, I know.
I mean, it's his career is just pretty unique based on the instability of the franchise.
That's why I would recommend get the fuck out of there.
I know we recommended that a while ago, but he doesn't want to do that. So
no, he's very loyal.
Rex Ryan, John. I love a good criticism that comes from a local sports talk show. It's like Rex Ryan on. It's like if you were in New York, you heard about
Turner and Hooch.
Yeah, DiPietro and Rothenberg. And then someone has to ask Saleh about it, calls out Saleh, says he's insulted that people would even compare Saleh to him. Don't compare that guy to me. Saleh hits him with, I've never met Rex. I've never had a conversation with Rex. I don't even know him except for people who know him. Obviously, if it's that personal for him, he knows where to find me. I thought very good response by Robert Saleh.
Rex's tone was a little aggressive, though not totally wrong. Like those couple years with the Jets, they had the top defense in the league. They're the best defense in the league when the league was pretty physical. Like, it was very impressive what Rex did in New York, right? Took him to 2 AFC championship games. So I get Rex taking a good little kidney shot. And what's Robert going to say? Like, yeah, this guy's a clown on TV talking. I'm the coach now. I'm just going to stay focused. Like, that would have been sweet. Like, I hate that loser.
Quote, this guy was supposed to be a defensive guru, Rex Ryan. Is Rex like a Jets fan? Or he just has taken on the Jets since he coached them?
Well, I would guess. Actually, I have no clue. I was going to say, I guess he lives in New York, but when you're really rich, you probably would move to Florida.
Well, maybe he coached at Buffalo. Maybe he lives maybe he's got a place up there in the
Jersey's got, I think,
New York or something.
A little cheaper tax. Yeah, I bet he's around. I bet those New York guys love. I mean, I would try to get Rex Ryan on all the time, wouldn't you? Like, if we were producing the show. So it makes sense. But it hasn't gone well for Robert. Like, they just feel a little just discombobulated. The rookie quarterback looks shitty.
The one thing
in fairness to Rex, his defense sucks.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that's helped Robert is that Trey Lance isn't really doing much. Fields has shown some flashes, but whatever. Mac, nobody wanted him at number 2 anyway. Now, in the end, if Mac's good, that'll reflect poorly on everybody that drafted ahead of him a quarterback. But, it's not like Trevor Lawrence looks great. It's not really about the quarterback thing right now. I think it's more that. What you said, that defensively.
Remember, he's not the coordinator.
I know, but it's
still weird.
You have a responsibility when you're hired as a head coach, even if it's not your side of the ball, to just bring some of that with you and feel like you're imprinting on your new franchise. Just some sort of. You said this, credit to you, and this is far from over with Saleh, but it's hard if you're the rah-rah leadership guy and your team's bad. How do you help your team, right? Like, when your team's bad and you're on one side of the ball, you're like, we suck, but hey, we're doing this one thing better at least. But, they're talking about Jeff Ulbrich. Are you changing the defense? Like, there's just a lot going on. And obviously, and on top of that, it's New York. So then you get Rex chiming in, who, it's not like Rex was there 12 years. Rex was there for 5.
He ain't going to shut up either, right?
No. But it's hard when it's going to take you 3 years to get things on. I don't know. I don't know where this goes with the Jets.
I think it's got a little weirder than even I expected with Robert. And that's just a natural, I would say, avalanche that can happen in New York, in Philadelphia, in Boston, in some of these markets where it's just, I think you see it a lot in the SEC. Our guy Mac with Florida, it got weird fast. And I remember Phil Savage said, Once the snowball starts coming down in the avalanche of negativity in the SEC, and he was tight with Mac, he's like, there just is no stopping the narrative. There's no slowing it down. And I think the NFL is probably a little different than even the SEC, because it's not like in the SEC you're just compared against Saban. You're still in the division with the Bills are really good. Obviously, you still got Belichick. And it's just New York, the sports are a big deal. Football is a big deal. It's just hard to slow it down, guy. It really is.
I also think in college, maybe it happens in the NFL too. I haven't even looked. It just occurred to me when you're talking about college football about attendance numbers. But like, I think one thing that happened at Washington with Jimmy Lake, many things happen. But one thing that happens is fan apathy at a college level changes things very quickly, right? That can help create a snowball very fast.
Well, and I think Saleh is, and it's not his fault, like what happened the last decade. Like they have sucked. They've become a joke. They've become a laughingstock. He had nothing to do with that. But the moment you become the coach, you then, same old Jets. So we're just rebuilding again. We suck again. It's like, well, it's not my fault. I just came here because you needed me. But you just get lumped in with all those guys. It's happened with the New York Giants. It happens for everyone that takes over the Lions, right? It happens, just bad programs. It's hard to shake it. That's why in college you have to pivot right away. You see with Sark, like he feels.
He got a vote of confidence from the chancellor today.
Yeah,
the guy came out to practice to tell him vote of confidence, Sark.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Do you think Sark? What would his buyout been? Huge, probably.
I mean, they're paying $24 million to last year's guys. I don't know. I think he'll be back.
Yeah, he's back. Could go 4-8, but it's hard to just stop the negativity. It really is. I think Saleh has that going, and the problem is too, guy. I don't know. Having lived in Philly, you can be whatever you want. I think anywhere, whoever your personality is. Like Mike Leach works in Mississippi State if they win 8 games a year, right? Just like he would work any school, happy, negative, whatever. When you lose in a town that they don't do happy-go-lucky bullshit, and Saleh's not a negative guy,
He's also not happy-go-lucky.
I know, but he's much more an optimistic guy than he is like a Parcells. Like, we're drawing a fucking line in the sand.
Yeah, I know.
Are you with me?
But he's not gonna.
We're burning the boats.
People aren't going to turn on him because he's cheese. He's not going to be Sirianni or Gase.
Yeah, no. I know, but he's not. You're right. I guess I'm diminishing. He's not cheesy at all, but he's not like gonna rip like that. Is not accept. We will cut that guy. And sometimes in New York they kind of like that. Yeah. That's just not they're already doing weird things. Just got really weird for him really fast.
Flacco. They're playing Flacco this week.
I know, it's crazy.
Well, we know what Joe Flacco is. It's weird. Like, Joe Flacco's not part of the future.
I think Zach Wilson's going to be a bust. I do. I think he's not going to be good.
Yeah, well, it's not trending well, John.
No. Well,
the way they love Mike White.
How does Robert help him out?
Zach Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to find a way to win games without asking your quarterback to do a lot. That's the only chance you have.
Yeah.
And then maybe he can develop just kind of, because the quarterback doesn't get to develop kind of in silence unless you're winning games without him doing a lot.
Yeah. Can't move in silence like lasagna.
That's right.
Is that what it is?
Something like, it's something like that. S is
move in silence like lasagna.
No, real G's move in silence like lasagna. That's what it is.
That's it. Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, like, here's Brady just said BYU. You made the point earlier about look at Clemson without Trevor Lawrence.
BYU's killing it, guy. Do you see some of their scores? Like, they've had a couple games where they scored like 60 plus. I had someone in the NFL mention, look at Clemson's offense since losing Trevor, even though he's struggling. Like, clearly, he was very impactful in an elite program, right? You could make the argument like Mac Tua. They didn't ever skip a beat. Just Mac to Bryce Young, haven't skipped a beat. Look at Joe Burrow, and all of a sudden you watch Joe Burrow, you're like, yeah, he's really important. BYU, they had a game a couple weeks ago against Virginia. It was like 66-40, and someone in the league's like, Virginia, I've scouted them. They're not bad. Like, look at that offense. The kid threw like
it was a close game. Yeah, Jaron Hall.
Not a great sign.
You know who no one's going to notice who they play this week, but you know who they play next week? Saturday? USC. BYU.
What's their record? Probably pretty good.
8-2. They're going to be 9-2. Well, they play Georgia Southern. That game doesn't count.
Because part of it, when you go back, and we talked a lot about this last year because he was playing in these games. Remember they had to redo their schedule, and it was shitty.
Yeah, I mean, they won 11 games against a bunch of nobody. What's funny is, like, Kalani Sitake is now, Feldman's got him on the list. Will he take the Washington job? Will USC offer him the job?
But I'm talking about the quarterback though. Put up all these numbers against.
Oh,
pretty,
right. Yeah. Gotcha.
Against how many corners did Zach Wilson face last year that he's going to see on Sundays? Probably not many. And the best team he played, they lost, and he didn't play that well.
Coastal.
Yeah.
Who's
still pretty good this year.
Yeah, they are really good this year. Oh, Coastal. Yeah, Coastal solid too. Kalani Sitake was like on the hot seat 2-3 years ago, and now he's one of the top coaching candidates on the West. A little weird.
I'm gonna keep it next week. I'm gonna keep an eye on him because who they play this week, like Idaho State or something. USC. No. I want to see this guy celebrate.
They played Idaho State last week. They played Georgia Southern this week. So
what was the Idaho State score?
59-14. But they should roll into the SC game a little healthy. Like, that's one part where, yeah, you play Baylor and Wazoo and Boise and Utah State and ASU and Utah and Arizona. But when you get a Idaho State, Georgia Southern back-to-back, you do get to chill a little bit too.
What was the Baylor score for BYU?
38-24.
In Waco?
Yes, in Waco.
That's pretty impressive showing. I mean, Baylor's pretty good.
It was 31-14 going into the fourth quarter. But
okay, a little garbage. That guy might be the next coach at USC.
Aranda. Yeah, the one thing about him is he's not like a outwardly big personality guy, which is okay. I mean, I don't know who was it that uncovered the thing about point differential in the Big 12 tiebreaker that made him kick the field goal late against Oklahoma last week, which was a pretty – Did you see the end of that game? Lincoln was pissed.
I saw that he was mad, and I didn't know why, and then I heard someone say that point differential thing is important. Like, that's why he did it.
And I do agree with him. Like, it was kind of crazy. The fans had rushed the field. They made him pull 11 players out of the locker room. It's not a safe situation for a visiting team just to be on the field when fans are stampeding. So he has to bring 11 guys back on so these guys can kick the field goal. And then the fans stampede the field again. He's got 11 guys out there trying to get back to the locker room. Like, it kind of sucks. It's kind of like, that's kind of BS. But when they didn't kneel on the ball, I then understood. He was also mad. He wanted a 15-yard penalty on Baylor for the fan rush, which is legit. I don't know why they didn't give it to him.
Yeah. Just, when you're losing by, the game's over, I think sometimes. I like Lincoln a lot.
That's why he's going to LSU, John. He's gone. Didn't you hear? Or is he going to Miami? Or is he going to LSU or Texas A&M when Jimbo leaves? I can't tell. He's taken 3 jobs.
Would you accept 8 years, $96 million if you were him to go to LSU? 8 years. Like, Mel Tucker's is 10. His is 8. So it's higher per year.
Would Oklahoma give me the same deal in this scenario?
No.
Why not?
I don't think they have the money. They're not as rich.
They're about to go to the SEC.
They're not there yet.
Buy that shit on credit, John.
I know. That's what I'd say.
I mean, if Oklahoma was going to pay me the same amount of money, I'd stay.
Do you know you can take all the – I mean, you do know this. He can just take players with him. Like, I can just leave. He could just, bring, 10 guys.
Portal?
What's his signing class? Well, 7 of my guys, including the quarterback.
Yeah. Would you
it's
take
not
it?
Out of the realm of possibility.
Would you leave if you were him? I mean, knowing how much he loves it at Oklahoma, how good his situation is. He's 9-1 and not in the playoffs. He's ranked 13th right now at 9-1, not even close to the playoffs.
I think the thing that only he would know is, is it possible to get the caliber of guys on defense to compete? Because I think they can get the caliber of guys on offense, but for whatever reason, they can't get the caliber of guys on defense. And is that just a forever thing, or is that going to change? They clearly recruit really well with them, but they are missing 3 or 4 guys that are going to play at Georgia, are going to play at Alabama, are going to play at Ohio State that just tend not to play at Oklahoma. And that he's coaching to win national championships. He's already generationally wealthy. He's probably made $50 million the last 6-7 years. It's not about the money anymore. He's going to make a ton of more money wherever the hell he goes. To me, it's just can I win a national championship here? But then you also got to factor in, do I think I can? And I still really love the place. It's not a black and white decision, but I bet it's a little more complicated than just people say. Once some of his football people has legit conversations with maybe, hey, Bob, could I come over and I'll bring a 6-pack and can I pick your brain? Because remember Stoops turned down a lot of jobs. Not a lot, but Ohio State, Alabama, Florida, right? For a decade tried to hire him because Stoops won the national championship, I think his second year. And he just basically stayed there for a decade and a half. Now, they had really good teams, but, he kind of proved this is, and historically it has been, but money has changed so much even in the last decade. Like, what if Oklahoma's like, hey, we can give you like a $60 million extension? I'm with you. I don't see how they wouldn't be able to get it together, but the SEC money and the Big Ten money is clearly on a different level right now than everyone except like Texas.
Would you rather take Oklahoma into the SEC if you were Lincoln or not have to deal with, like, would you take a source of pride and like, I took them to the SEC and built them up there? Because you're not doing that unless your plan is like, I'm going to stay, another 4 years after we go to the 3 years after we go to the SEC because I want to win in the SEC.
Well, you're probably more locked into this than me. Remember when it first got announced, you and I both were like, they'll both be there next year. Do we feel like that, or is it going to take a little time?
No, I don't feel like that anymore.
So they're going to play in the Big 12 for a couple of years, feels like, right?
I mean, I nothing's really changed since then, so maybe I should still feel that way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it's.
But I'm just asking: is it attractive to have that? Like, I'm the guy that took these guys to SEC.
Because you go 8-4 in your first year all of a sudden,
right?
And do you know we were talking about this when we were out on Saturday? Like, are they putting these two teams on the West? Was one of these teams like? Does Oklahoma get to go to the East and get to play some of those teams? Like, I don't know if they've configured it correctly, right? Because if one of these two teams has to go to the West, like if it's like flip a coin, Texas, you get to play the East teams. Lincoln, you get to play the West. Bama, Auburn, Mississippi State, A&M, LSU. Good luck.
Say what you want about Texas and Texas. They'll have players.
Yeah, but they're going to lose. Like, the thing is, like, I assume the University of Texas is going to lose when they go to the SEC. Oklahoma, it's like they should be able to compete, but, like, instead of going 11-1 every year, are they immediately just 9-3? So it's like, yeah, do I just want to be the coach at 9-3? Well, how many years is 9-3 going to be cool? Is that going to be a really tough transition? Like at LSU, could I win the national championship next year?
Most coaches stay too long.
Yeah. Most coaches don't leave in a great situation at that level of program. And I think Stoops is an example. He would have turned this down, and he would have had the opportunity, right? If we could just rewind it a decade or 2 decades. I could not fault him for leaving. I would actually respect him. Like, this guy's in it to fucking win it.
Yeah.
But Saban,
God, it'd be bad for Oklahoma. They've got such a good situation right now.
I heard that they would just hire Heupel, who's actually done pretty good at Tennessee.
Tennessee's been respectable. I know. I watched Tennessee the other day. They're wearing like these all black uniforms, and I realized I haven't watched Tennessee like a game. I'm not counting Juwan Jennings' film 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I haven't watched Tennessee watched Tennessee in a long time.
Well, the other thing is that there's so many jobs open that Power 5 coaches are going to leave Power 5 jobs to go to these jobs. The domino effect, when it's all said and done, could be crazy, right? Like, what jobs come open because guys take USC, LSU, does Oklahoma? It's like, how does this shit all work?
Yeah, is Penn State coming open or is James Franklin staying? Is
I even give you like a couple.
open?
Florida, Virginia Tech's open. That's a pretty good job.
Virginia Tech, that's right. They're paying a lot of money to buy out Fuente. Already $40 million of buyouts have been committed, not counting private schools, John. So not counting SC, not counting TCU, which is a good job.
A mutual decision is still a buyout. He was fine.
Yeah, unless it's a mutual decision with cause.
Yeah, mutually.
I mean, maybe
I'll
you get
leave.
a little.
You pay me my $13 million on the way out.
Oh, I'm happy to leave for $13 million. Sure, we can mutually agree to leave. It's like a prenup.
I'd be like, actually, my accountant said it'd be best instead of giving me the $13 million lump sum, if you could pay me in $2.7 million increments every 9 months on the fiscal month of this, and let's do that. Does that happen a lot?
I think it is. I think a lot of those things get paid out, not in lumps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who has like $17 million just to pay a coach? Like, didn't Ed get 12 or 15 just to go away?
I thought it was 16.
Or yeah, 16. Like, you would imagine they're not just cutting him a $16 million check.
I don't think so. And if you're Ed, that's fine. Like, I don't.
You see the Dak thing that went viral today?
No.
Their rookie year, he I don't know if he's driving like a Toyota Tacoma or just has a truck, and he's driving him home. I think from OTAs. And he's driving Zeke home to wherever he's staying. Maybe they're in the same apartment complex, but I don't think they were because he dropped him off and he was leaving. He drops Zeke off, and Zeke forgets something in his car. And he looks down. I don't know if it's a folder or a piece of paper or whatever, and he looks, and it's one thing is his $5 million, like one of the signing bonus checks, $5 million. And Dak's thinking to himself, like, this check is worth more than my entire contract. Now, he was a 4th-round pick, but still. And he called him. He's like, bro, you left your $5 million in my truck.
So this is just a story that Dak told. What a great story.
Yeah, I think he's told it, yeah. No, Dak, I think, made it up, over time. But that's got to be a pretty eye-opening. You're like, we're on the same team. We're teammates.
I remember.
People forget at the time, Dak was like their 3rd-string guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't even the backup.
That's why Stephon Marbury left the Timberwolves. I've mentioned this to you before. When I was doing minor league baseball, I remember one of the scouts for the Cleveland Indians told me the story about like one of the clubbies going to wash Manny Ramirez's car, and Manny's like, the keys are in the glove box, and the guy opens the glove box, and like every one of Manny's checks is just stuffed in every game. 2-week check is just stuffed in the glove box, which at the time, now it wasn't $5 million. This is in the 90s. But still, just in a ridiculous amount of money.
Didn't Ricky Henderson frame a check that was $1 million in his office?
There's some story like that.
Was it Dion or Ricky? It was one of those two guys that did it.
Dion, there's another guy. By the way, John, let's tell the people about rexmd.com/ham. Get real and generic ED treatments delivered discreetly to you at rexmd.com/ham. Go check it out.
Yep, over 100,000 men get generic Viagra from the comfort of their own home. We don't want to go see a doctor. It's very uncomfortable. Listen, we don't have to tell anybody. It stays discreet. It's between us, but it's not even between us because we'd never know. There's no copay. There are no doctor office visits. And your shipping is always free. Yes, listen, us guys, we got problems. And if you're looking for generic Viagra, RexMD has made the process fast, easy, and affordable, so don't wait another minute. RexMD is now offering starter packs of generic Viagra for new customers. Visit rexmd.com/ham. right now to get started. That's rexmd.com/ham.
rexmd.com/ham. Pretzelgate, John. Kelly Stafford goes to the Niner game. Somebody talks some shit. She throws a pretzel. Somebody DMs her and is like, that was some bullshit. I saw you throw a pretzel. And she replies and says, you're right. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done that. That was very bad of me. I lost my cool. And, I thought a very adult response to a very childish act. And my question is, what was said to her? Because you don't just get to go around saying whatever you want to people just because they're in the spotlight and you're not, and just assume that you get to, you just get freebies all day long, say whatever you want. No one's ever going to punch you in the face. All this person got was a pretzel to the back of the head. So
mustard on it?
That's a good question. Did she cover the dry cleaning bill? There is, to me, it's not that high of a bar to cross where if you say some inappropriate stuff to somebody, just because they're famous, you don't just get to say whatever you want to them and not get hit with a pretzel. Now, if it was kind of tame, then pretzel's bad.
I've said this forever. I don't judge any parent, any wife, any child when it comes to professional athletes and things that happen in stadiums. It's very emotional. If you're just a pure fan and acting like an idiot, like you're an idiot. But when you are saying something about someone's kid, about someone's husband, like put yourself in those shoes. I'm pretty unemotional about everything. Like if you're doing things in my family, like those are people that even the most unloyal people tend to be pretty loyal to beside Aaron Rodgers. And honestly, the more and more information we found, it kind of lean on his side. But a lot of it is because they always have your back. Unlike, it looks like Rodgers' family, what they did to him was pretty fucked up. Now thinking my parents would never do that to me. That's fucked up. I'm on Rodgers' side on that one. But like I do think, though, here's my one pushback on just families. Listen, in a perfect world, you'd be able to go to away games and all these sports, and it'd just be fine. People would act mature. But the problem is that's not the case. People at these games are drinking, and they're drinking heavily. And it's a pretty consistent formula in our lifetimes that things get said. So I can't really blame idiots for acting like idiots in a venue where they constantly act like idiots. It's a tough spot. I don't know what she should do. Not go to the game. She'd be like, what, am I supposed to not support my husband? I'd be like, no, but I wouldn't tell you that. But when you go to these games, I'm sure you've had experience over the years. It's just, they're just going to be idiots there.
Wearing like a number 9 jersey, right? Name on the back.
And cheering when he makes plays, which I don't blame you, but it's just, I would avoid it. But then you wouldn't get the moment like the dude at the Texas Parents. Did you see that? The guy
they
that drove
the 12 hours. He just did his Applebee's commercial. I just saw his Apple. He got an Apple. They paid him, John, I think it was $800 cash. And then like $800 or $1,000 in Applebee's gift cards.
He's a freshman.
Had never played a snap before that
Never
play.
played.
Game-winning
That's incredible.
2-point conversion against Texas.
One of the things Rinaldi told Russillo is, because Ryan was asking him, like, you do a lot of tear-jerking stories, and he was like, I'd push back and just be like, those are stories people are drawn to. He went to go visit this guy, the kid, this week, and showed him the video for the first time of his parents that went viral. They're like 2 million views. I don't think he had.
Incredible.
So he's just like, yeah.
That'll be on College Game Day this week.
No, Big Noon Kickoff. Rinaldi left.
Oh, Big Noon Kickoff. Yeah. Sorry.
So that'll be a tearjerker.
Wow. That's awesome.
But I just, like, for those moments, which are incredible, there's just, you and I have been to enough games. They're just idiots, man. And I think football, I think football, too, is probably just the event. It's probably even, like baseball, I wouldn't even think twice unless it was a playoff game. Basketball, not really either, unless there's animosity between the two teams. But football is just, booze is getting drawn. It's like feels like the release of all these humans, which a lot of people listening, actually, most people go just watch the game. But there is a percentage of people that at any moment can go viral for, doing stupid shit.
Yeah, I think you take on, in some ways, the persona of what you're watching. You want to be a part of the game. So on an NFL field, players do things and say things that are not acceptable in normal society, right? And you kind of, sometimes some people take that on. Like, yes, I'm here to be a part of this, and that means I'm going to yell some things that maybe I wouldn't yell if I were walking into a Starbucks and I saw Kelly Stafford standing there, right? Would this person say these things to Kelly Stafford at Starbucks?
I think the major difference is, though, you have no clue who she is in Starbucks or Safeway.
I'm just saying, if you recognized her at Starbucks, you'd be like, your husband sucks.
You probably would not.
Probably not, but maybe. I'm sure things get said.
But if she was just wearing a Stafford jersey at Safeway, and let's say you hated Matt Stafford,
that'd be
like,
weird.
God, that guy sucks. You never underestimate. Again, it's a small percentage of people kind of looking for stuff.
Absolutely. You mentioned Rinaldi. How about the story that you clipped off that he told Ryan Russillo about Saban?
Well, do you know that? Have you seen or just read, and I'm sure you've seen the movies, like Martin Scorsese loves using Gimme Shelter in his movies. He used it in The Departed. He used it in Casino. He used it in Goodfellas. Like I think he's used it in other movies. Like that's his go-to. I went on YouTube, Gimme Shelter, which is just an incredible song. Is just Scorsese is a sucker for that song, and he finds a way to put it in his movies. And Rinaldi said that Saban, when he drives home after every single game, I actually think it says a lot about Nick. He's just such a creature of habit, right? Because it's not a win-loss thing. It's like that is the song he listens to when he's driving, I would guess, a $200,000 Mercedes home from the game. That's pretty incredible. And then I was like, I actually watched the song, like the lyrics of the song. I mean, I've heard it a million times. I mean, it's a song based on Vietnam, as a lot of songs, were in that area.
I remember reading the line where the woman starts screaming in the background, like rape, murder. Yeah. She was like a fill-in and like nailed it somehow. I don't know if that was supposed to be, I think, was that Stevie Nicks? I think it was maybe supposed to be Stevie Nicks, maybe is the story, or was it Stevie Nicks? She couldn't make it.
I don't think it was Stevie Nicks.
Yeah, I think it might have. I could be wrong about this. Somebody can check my research here. But I feel like I watched the Stevie Nicks documentary a while back, and that was supposed to be Stevie Nicks, but she couldn't. And so they brought somebody else in, and they weren't, or that line, or maybe it was Stevie. That line wasn't supposed to be like screamed like that, but they did it. And you know what I'm talking about when the woman starts yelling?
Yeah. Honestly, it's like the best part of the song.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. That's a great Nick insight.
Just feels it. Can you just see him just driving, fucking blasting it?
Jared on the stream says it was a random lady. Yeah, he just blasting, right? With like his 5.1 Dolby Atmos sound system.
What do you think the best song of all time is? Do you think it's even possible?
I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible. Like really impossible. For me, because I've thought about it and it's impossible. That said, I think Sympathy for the Devil might be the greatest song of all time.
Yeah.
Also the Stones.
Well, I mean, you listen to Gimme Shelter, you're like, if you just heard this, you're just like, that is what music is. You never heard music, you just heard that, you're like, it is a powerful there are just certain people that are.
That's a great
really
call. You
powerful,
hear that
right?
song, you go, "This could be the greatest song of all time." I
Yeah,
understand what you're saying.
There's just a short list of just artists. If you just hear them and you had never heard music, it's a powerful feeling. And I like watching a song on YouTube and then looking at the YouTube comments. And whenever it's a famous song, it's always really positive. / like, they would never make music like this anymore. So it's positive on the era of music. But one of the comments was like, Vietnam's the only war with its own soundtrack. It is kind of crazy. Like, think of all the crazy shit that's happened like in our adult life. That doesn't really happen anymore. Or maybe it's just different times. Maybe it does. I just don't listen to it. But it doesn't feel as big as like Creedence Clearwater. I mean, all these
CCR and
famous bands building songs around a war. It's just different times.
Yeah.
More passion, less money, just more doing it for the right reasons. Less trying to get the bag. If I hear that fucking statement one more time, I'm going to puke. Get the bag, just securing his bag. Shut up. I can't stand that.
Well, there are things that, what, I read a story the other day that turns out the crying emoji is like old news. Like if you use the crying emoji, it is like the youth. I know the youth of America. It was an article about like people in their workplace, and they were describing like if they work with people in their early 20s, that like they have told them like, yeah, man, the crying emoji, that's not cool anymore.
It's not supposed to be cool. It's like something happens, you do.
Well, I understand, but it's just like a stupid. Like there's a generation of people now that view the crying emoji as an old people thing.
What would they do if something sad happened?
I don't. Not the like the laughy cry emoji, that thing. That emoji. That's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, like to laugh.
Yeah.
What's the one with the water streaming down the eyes? Is that crying, laughing too, or is that tears?
I don't use any of them to convey sadness.
There's
like
one
real
little sad face. Yeah.
Yeah, but never like, somebody died, sad face emoji.
I'm not trying to be too morbid here or anything, because I actually think in a weird way this is a positive story. It's honestly, I mean, it's I don't know if inspiring is the right word, but it makes you like look inside. There was a plane crash last week. I remember watching the news. I think it was in the Northeast, and everyone on the plane died. It was like a real estate agent. I think it was taking like 2 rich people. That's what my guess, because when I heard it was a real estate agent, a couple, their daughter, and then the pilots. It's a private jet, and it crashed. But the daughter, who was 11, survived. And then I saw today on Instagram, because it was like pretty crazy. They all die, and she survives. The dad bear hugged her.
And somehow saved her. From impact.
That's what she's told, like everyone like laying in the hospital bed. God. I mean, you just think about like, I mean, there are human instincts and everything, and then they're like, would I 100%? You just start like, that is incredible. Like, what a human being.
Oh, I had a lot of questions that I can't even. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she'll, who knows? But it's just
not to kill the moment. As you're talking, I'm in the process of going to every Give Me Shelter on YouTube under the Haberman and Middlekauff YouTube account and just writing Nick Saban sent us. Well, here's a live one Nick Saban sent us.
One question I would have, do you think he just downloads it on Apple Music and connects it to his phone, or is it like downloaded someone from the dealership puts it on his car so he can just press a button? It can't be that complicated.
You don't think it's like Apple CarPlay? Just gets in the car, hits play on the phone, Bluetooth automatically gone, Yeah, that's what I'm thinking it is.
He just does Give Me Shelter from his phone.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure they have the ability to just say it out loud in his 2022
That's right.
Mercedes. Play Give Me Shelter on repeat. If you really love something, and any sports talk radio listener back in the day would know, if you want to keep listening, you don't get to the driveway right away. You take a couple loops, you do whatever to keep listening to whatever you're listening to.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine he listens to the song. Does he listen? Like, how long is the drive? Does it get 2 or 3 or 4?
Yeah, I mean, let's just say the drive's 15 minutes. It's a 4.5-minute song, right? So I would guess he keeps it on repeat. I don't know what music I would have guessed Saban listened to, but Stones makes sense.
It's probably spoken to the Stones, like pre-concert one time. They bring Saban in to speak. All right. Now, look, I know you're 85, but you're going to bring it tonight. All right.
Can you just see him in the corner, like, eating his baby cakes?
What did you think of my barber's offer to a 4-year, $2,000 contract, by the way?
Well, yeah, did he want the money up front?
Yeah, there would be a contract, like literally a contract that protects me if he goes out of business. Even though if he goes out of business, he has to have the cash to give me my money back. So
he'd want the $2,000.
he'd want the 2K. It's like a Series A funding basically for his business, I think.
Did you ask him why wouldn't you just me to come as much as I want and get paid for haircuts? What was his pitch?
I haven't talked to him about it. He just sent me like, hey, I do this every few years. I'll offer a few clients this because I've been going like every 2 weeks, and it's $45 for a cut, $45, $10 tip, so it's $55. And prices are going up. Supply chain scissors are hard to get, I guess, to $53 per cut, right? So
73 times 2. So that's 146 a month times 12. So you're looking at $1,750 a month. I went. You said 63. That's your haircut.
That's what it would be. Right now, it's 55 with a tip, so it's 45.
So I went 63. I added a $10 tip to 73 twice a month, 12 months. You're talking $1,700 a year.
A year, right? Which, if I go every other week for 4 years, it's $20 a month.
It's a 4-year contract.
It's a 4-year, $2,000 contract. Yeah.
I mean, your lettuce is important. One, you legitimately
it pays for itself in a
weeks.
year and a half. That's the thing, right?
Well, no, I mean it pays for itself in less than that because, like I said, if you give tip,
you said it'd be 17, but for a year.
Yeah, 17 for a year. So how you only need another month.
Yeah. The problem is,
are you confident that he won't go under?
Who knows? 4 years is a long time. I think he's a really sharp guy, and he's on top but you
don't need to get to 4 years. If you just got to 2, you'd be in great shape.
That's exactly right. The problem is he's 4 years is a long time.
Time value money. You could every 73 you still got.
It's $6 for me to cross. He's in the city. Yeah. So I get $6 to cross the bridge. Some days it's 30 minutes each way. That's an hour. That's my issue is I don't know if I'm going to want to do that for 4 years. That it is a great deal. I think he's doing me a solid.
If he lived in your neighborhood, it'd be a no-brainer.
No-brainer. When it used to be 2 blocks for me to go to the guy. Awesome guy. But shout out to Lance.
I would do a counter offer. Could you do like 1,000? Be like, I'll do 1,000 right now for a year and a half. Without hesitation, I'll cut you the $1,000 check. Why don't you negotiate?
Not a bad thought.
Because 2, he's cutting you a deal. So, hey, I'll give you 1,000. I'll sign the deal right now. 2 years. Or hell, year and a half. Because boom, you're already saving money.
If I'm him, I'd rather do 1,000 for 2 years than 4 years for 2,000.
Because 1,000, by 1,000, even by a couple haircuts, you're already at a month. You're in $150. So it's like
the thing is, I would love to go like if I live close, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll do unlimited because it's not like every 2. It's just unlimited haircuts. So I could come every week if I wanted, but that's another $10 per week, right? So you got to double the tip money over the course of a year if you're going 52 times. That's $10, 52 times. It's $520
You are right. So 6 times 12. So every time you go over the bridge, could be $12. Plus your time's the most valuable thing we all have. So it is kind of time consuming. It's hard to find a parking spot where he is sometimes.
Depends. Sometimes he's by the highway. That's easy. Sometimes he's over on Polk Street. That's another 10 minutes into the city, and that's hard to park. And you got to pay there maybe potentially.
Oh, he's got multiple venues.
He's in a Sprinter van. He drives a van. That's what it is.
Okay, guy. Now, okay.
You want him to come to me?
Spark this business mind. What if you said up the dollar amount and you say come to me? Everyone's got.
I've talked to him about it. It's so out of his way that it's.
Where does he lay his head at night?
Lays his head in like Concord, but he leaves the van in San Francisco. He parks. He exchanges haircuts for a garage spot at a parking garage. He's got a hell of an operation.
Gotcha. So he does not do any haircuts outside of the city.
Mm-mm.
He does his haircuts in that van.
That's right. And the van stays there.
Because I was going to say I would pay in your spot. I'd be willing to go like $3,000. You come to me.
But see, I don't think that's worth it to him, right? The amount of money that you have to pay a barber to come to you is not. I'm not paying that much money for a haircut.
Well, because his gas expense is nothing, right? He's not.
And his time. Now we're talking about his time. And his time, he's putting a dollar amount on every 30 minutes. That's a haircut he could be given.
Do a deal, guy. Just I would negotiate with him. Would you do $3,000 if he'd come to you? For 2 years, $3,000 if he come to you?
I guess I'm still saving money in that. And yes, but he's not doing that. I'm telling you, I've talked to him about being that mobile. It's not an option for him.
So I'll cut you a $3,000 check tomorrow. You come to me whenever I need it.
But it's not worth it to him.
Well, maybe about 35. You'd be like 3-year deal. Done. Does he want $3,500?
I don't think he wants it that. He is doing it takes 2 weeks to get an appointment. I mean, he is pushing product. Yeah.
Would you do $5,000 for 3 years if he'd come to you?
What did we determine? It's $1,700 a year for me.
Yeah.
So I probably break even.
Yeah, right around there. But he'd come to you.
Yeah,
pull into your driveway. How incredible would that be? I'm telling you, back when I had hair and the guy would show up at the Eagles facility and I just walk down.
That's so it was it free to you, or did you pay him, or the Eagles covered it and you just tipped him?
I think you had to give him $20. It wasn't expensive.
Yeah.
Might have been 15. It was low. Yeah, I mean, if you get $1,750, yeah, I mean, $5,000 to come to you.
I just don't think that's on the table for him. But I'll talk to him. He's a reasonable guy.
I think it might pencil for you with your time. $5,000 for a 2-year deal. Now you're right. Like unlimited is different. Like, well, it's unlimited if I can make it to you, right? It's unlimited as long as you need to get a haircut, but unlimited need to come to you. It's fascinating business that I know nothing about, right? I lose time. Like today, like whenever I have to do something, a lot of people don't have this luxury. I can take a shower as a guy without hair 5 minutes before I have to do something. Boom, I'm already dry, right? My hair is never, obviously,
you only wear a hat because you want to, not because you have to.
Yeah, just because I hadn't shaved the sides in a couple days, so I didn't really want to shave. But obviously girls have a tougher problem. But even like if you take a shower, is your hair wet if you don't like really try to dry it for a little bit?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soaked. Do you wash your hair every time you take a shower?
Yeah.
I can't relate.
Oh, you're saving a lot of money. All right. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging with us. Adios.